For one thing, they're several months behind the Japan servers. So Japan has story that, like that we don't have. And second of all, it's apparently, according to Reddit, it's very slow and actually um oh, that was me. Well, Twitch is now down. Twitch is up. Is YouTube up? Excellent. All right, let me just do one last run of PR real quick. Well, we know one person's body that is no longer ready. I know, it's sad. Getting likes and getting follows are two different things. Ooh. Hang on. 1 second. Hang on. Not yet. You guys have your beverages? I dropped the YouTube. Yeah, it's right here.
The world began in darkness, and from that darkness came light. From the light came the people, and the people had hearts. Evil burgeoned in those hearts, begetting more darkness. And that darkness spread across the world like a plague. The light, the symbol of the world's hope, was devoured by shadow, leaving nothing but ruin and utter failure. But the first light, the light of Kingdom Hearts, it can give us a new start, an empty world, pure and bright. Those were the words of Xehanort, and that was the music of Dearly Beloved, and we're Memory Slot A podcasts. We're going to talk about Kingdom Hearts 3 a whole bunch right now. We're going to go through the story, we're going to go through the stuff we liked, stuff we didn't like, and literally everything in between. We're gonna get it all out. So I'm Mark with a C. I'm here with Mark with a K
Hello.
and Rob.
What is up, internet?
Rob made that beautiful intro music, and that was surprising. I thought it was going to be a little bit different because the last version had a much
A
more
custom
subdued
version.
version of Dearly
But
Beloved, but that was awesome.
I think it captures just like how it feels like to achieve, actually finishing this game. So I thought it was worth the change up to be like, all right, now we're going from solo piano to literally this song that played during a badass moment in the game. But again, we will get to that in due time.
Yes.
Yeah, that was really triumphant. I loved that.
Yes.
Good on you.
Thank you, sir.
But yeah, we're gonna really get into. We're gonna dive very deep into Kingdom Hearts 3. The three of us have been waiting for this game for a really long time, and I think we all have some pretty intricate thoughts about how we feel now that we've finished it and like really exhausted it of all of the content that it had and stuff. So
Well, just for the
we're
record,
gonna-
let me just put out like when we actually finished playing this game, because we all finished at different
Oh,
paces.
sure,
Yeah?
yeah.
Like I finished about 2 weeks ago, and you guys finished like literally last week, right? Last Sunday.
Yeah,
I think.
I think we
Yes.
both finished last. I want to say it was Saturday, right?
Saturday.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah.
I think we finished the game literally like 15 minutes apart.
Yeah, we really like that was cool actually. That was not planned. Like we were just like, hey, we have time to play today. And then at certain point, because so just a little peek behind the curtain, we were since Rob was a lot ahead of us the entire time, we're basically speaking with Rob privately in like private Discord chats to be like, hey, this is where I'm at. Let me know if I can talk about this in front of the other Mark because we didn't want to spoil things for each other. And then eventually Rob was like, hey, you guys are both at basically the same point. And then, I mean, you guys know the deal. Once you get to the like climactic point of those games, you're just
don't
locked
stop.
in.
Yeah,
You're just
you
gonna
just keep
finish.
going.
You got to power through the rest of it, and
Exactly.
then we did, and then just
You
a
were all
couple
full of
hours-
feels.
just a couple hours later, it was well, I finished. Oh, yep, I'm just getting to the credits now. And,
Yeah, that was really it was I think as soon as I mentioned that I felt confident that the game was over, you're like, I'm at the credit. And so basically we were just like probably 15 minutes is the most like accurate.
Yeah, because
Like-
after the final boss fight, there's a lot of cutscene.
all
Like-
the story.
Oh,
I mean,
sure.
it's a good 15-20 minutes worth of cutscene, and then Mark was at the credits, and they were.
I think it was just really fun how that turned out because you guys were like paced differently for like the first half of it, and then all of a sudden you guys were all together finishing at the same time. I'm like,
Yeah.
you guys are gonna feel the exact same things at the exact same time, and it's gonna be awesome. And that's why we're here today.
It's absolutely wild because it's like for a bit I was very far behind. I had taken a vacation and I didn't get to play, and then Mark was busy and I was able to power through a lot of the stuff. So I ended up ahead of Mark, and then Mark beat the game before me. So clearly he's better at the game than I am.
Well, okay, so if we'll get into this a little bit later, but I got hung up on one particular boss fight which Mark breezed through, and then I think maybe you put the game down because you were marathoning it, and then I had just gotten
Yep.
back into it at that point, and so I think that's probably what caused our little discrepancy. But I don't think we could have planned it any better for us to be able to like talk about it at the same time.
Yeah,
Exactly, because I like just again to roll back the curtain. The idea was because all of us at the time when we all started at different days. We all couldn't talk about the game to each other because we were all at different points in time. So it's just sort of like we couldn't even talk about little things at all because we didn't know what the other had or hadn't seen. And I may or may not have accidentally spoiled these guys like once.
You did.
he did.
Oh, yeah,
and we
I know.
say
You can
But
lock me up.
don't
Okay.
do not worry because Rob was adequately sentenced to the clink for it.
Yeah.
So all is well now.
But that's the reason
Yeah.
why I wanted to get on with like this. So what we're gonna start off with is just a brief introspection of like just general plot, because I want to know what people like what each of our thoughts were as we were doing this game, because we couldn't talk about it while we were playing. But I would like to hear what you guys were thinking about as you started it up. But even as simple as starting up the game, I imagine one or two, like either one of you guys probably had tears in your eyes. I'm sure someone commented as much, right?
Oh, totally. I
Yeah.
mean, we did like go back and forth a bit during the game, but it was like, oh, that boss fight was cool or whatever, but we didn't really have time to actually like or we didn't feel comfortable like really discussing stuff. So that's where we saved it all for right now. So we're gonna let it all out. And I
So
think on that note, we should
buckle
just
up.
yeah, buckle up first.
Try to remember
And then
what
we're gonna
happened.
we're gonna set the scene, right? I think the best way to begin this is if I recall correctly, there was a really great music video set to Face My Fears in the beginning,
Yup.
right? And
Wonderful intro.
that was if you so one of you guys correct me if I'm getting this wrong. That one was the one that was showing stuff from the trailer, right? Where it was the young Ericus and Xehanort
Playing
playing the
chess.
chess game,
Yep.
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I believe the way it started was with that, and then it went into like another music sequence where it was this orchestral version of
Don't think twice.
Don't Think Twice.
Yep.
And oh geez, I don't think so. As far we have definitely like complicated opinions on parts of the game, but in terms of a way to start, man, nothing pulls at the heartstrings like those Hikaru songs, especially the orchestral version.
Strong
Yeah.
agree.
You guys agree,
and-
right?
Agree.
And especially right at the very beginning when you're expecting to get to the menu and listen to some dearly beloved, but yet that hits you first,
But,
and it's
yeah.
just chills.
It was
Yes.
absolutely an experience. That was great.
And also, if we're on the subject of music, just really quick, the version of Dearly Beloved from the menu, if you sit through the whole song, it's a slow burn, but geez, when it starts to really go and do the Dearly Beloved thing, oh man, it's really, really awesome. It really crescendos.
And the thing is, like, I think I might have said this before, but I think this version of Dearly Beloved is probably one of the most radical takings on it. It's one of the most different
Yeah.
compared to a lot of the others,
Because at the very
yeah.
beginning, it doesn't even feel like a dearly
Yeah.
beloved.
Nope, not at all. And yet it's so much more beautiful. Like a joke that I didn't get to crack before we started, I wanted to say it during the pregame was like, oh man, how many times could they ask for a different version of Dearly Beloved? Like, how else could they change it up? And clearly they found a way.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah, I love that. I mean, the thing they nailed, I will say, like they really made it feel like the Kingdom Hearts that I remember that I played when I was like 10. You know what I mean? Like they really stayed true to all of those things, even like from like just the structure, right? Like it's that really simple menu with like the hand-drawn picture of Sora and Dearly Beloved, and then you start a new game and
the
you get
logo
the like
spins,
music
yeah.
video to like start you off really, get really like into it. And then of course, the character, I guess this is probably a good way to kick off the actual game, the way that it drops you into like the stained glass kind of, I think it's kind of like loosely supposed to be like inside a heart type of deal when you're in the stained glass platforms or whatever, and then you're
I mean,
selecting
interestingly, it's choosing your stats, right?
yeah.
And the thing is, if I recall correctly, you get to see like screens of different scenes that happened in the past, right?
Yep.
So not only
Yeah.
is it hard, it's
It's a
kind
good
of like
touch.
his memories too, which I thought was
Yeah,
a nice touch.
it's a bunch of screens, and it shows you stuff from Kingdom Hearts 1, Kingdom Hearts 2.
Because I remember
all
looking at
that.
him like, oh yeah, I remember that scene.
Yeah,
I
it was
remember
it
that
was
scene.
it was nice stuff. And what did you guys start with? What were your choices?
Now, there were two different choices that you were asked to make, and the first one, I wish I could remember the exact way they worded it, but I think the first one was like choosing a stat to maximize between health, um,
MP
mana,
and
yeah,
yeah.
and I guess defense.
No, I think it was
Or no,
balanced.
balance
Balanced,
maybe.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
so
chose the it was like vitality with
yeah, so
Yeah.
so you had the first was balance, vitality, and wisdom.
yes. Okay, that makes sense. I
Wisdom
chose
was the one that
vitality.
raised your MP. Vitality was the one that raised your HP, and then balanced. So
I
Mark was
went with balanced.
and I also went with balanced. So there was that. See, at the beginning,
Aha.
I was sort of like, what do these stats mean? This isn't your typical pick a sword, pick a shield, pick a staff. You know, I was like,
Mhm.
what did these mean? And I guess I only found out about what they meant later on. But I digress.
Before we move on, difficulty settings, right?
Oh,
So,
Oh yeah.
of course.
I picked proud.
I also picked proud.
Yeah, you guys were both proud, and I didn't know any better, so I just picked normal because I didn't know what to expect. I regret that decision, but again, we'll talk about that later.
We'll get into that later.
Yeah. So okay, so cool. So difficulty, first choice. Second choice was the more traditional. Do you choose strength? Do you choose defense, or do you choose another like balance? Right, if I'm remembering that right.
No, I think
It-
this
It
one
was a
was more
little more.
specific. It was
Yeah,
like,
this all right. So it was vitality, wisdom, balance for the first choice, and
Yeah.
that was the one that impacted your stats.
Yes.
And then the second one was warrior, mystic, or guardian. And I'm just finding out now what these did. Warrior increases your ground combo by 1. Mystic reduces your
cooldown.
MP use, so I guess it makes your spells use less.
Uh huh.
Oh,
And then guardian, if your HP is low, your damage taken is reduced.
oh,
I
so
went
all
with
it does.
warrior.
Oh, that
I mean, those
guardian
are
is a good
abilities you
one.
can get throughout the game, more or less, but they just give
Yeah,
it to you early. It's okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
I went with warrior for that.
I was warrior
Same.
also.
Yeah. So question right off the bat. I felt like this was a little bit too simplified based on the other games because the other ones allowed you to choose to maximize a stat and then to minimize a stat. So it gave you like a little bit more control over your build.
Right.
This one was just like, what do you want to boost? Which I think is fine. But I was waiting for after that second choice to be like, which one of these do you want to sacrifice? And I always thought that was a pretty important part of like building your character.
Yeah. And that's something, that's actually reflected later on in the game because I mean, you know, it doesn't real like your choice at the beginning. I really don't think has impacts the gameplay nearly as much as it's intended to.
Yeah, I think even if you weren't picking a magic oriented build, you still could have popped out quite a lot of
Yeah,
quite a lot
and I
of
mean,
strong spells regardless.
yeah, I didn't. I like I said, I went with balanced and warrior, but like I was still spamming magic the entire game
No
because
problem.
the keyblades that you get more than make up for it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. But yeah, those are the that so then it goes into the like I was saying before, how it really keeps it true to Kingdom Hearts. It gets you right into a tutorial boss fight with just that first Heartless, that first like hulking Heartless you see in
Yep,
the beginning of Kingdom
none
Hearts
other,
1.
none
Uh
other than the very heartless from the first game.
and what I loved about that was his attacks, his combos were the same, his patterns were the same. It was just an up-resed version of it. And I'm like, all right, they know what's up. They know that this is like, this is just a main pillar of this game. And I thought that was a really nice way to make everyone feel like, yeah, this is the Kingdom Hearts that you remember. And it wasn't built into the story at all. It was literally real, which I believe at least in Kingdom Hearts 1 it was actual part of the story. It was like in Destiny Islands.
Oh, you
I
mean
don't know
like
about
Yeah.
the
Kingdom Hearts 2.
actual? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, it does take place in somewhere that you'll visit later on in the game, though.
The one for 3?
Yeah.
I'm trying.
You mean when he unlocks freaking what's his?
Yeah,
Oh,
where? Hold on. What else takes place there? I forget.
It's the final world, right? Are we talking about the same thing?
Oh
We
wait,
might-
was it in the final world?
Yeah, it was in
fight
the it was in the final world.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
I like.
you're on like the the
No,
reflective surface.
yes, I think you're ringing a bell. Was there like just the blue sky and the nothing?
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah.
It was
Oh shit!
yeah. It takes place in the final
Oh,
world.
that's super cool. I like didn't make that connection, but that's
The more
really
you
cool.
know, Rainbow.
Yeah. No, I mean I feel like there's a lot of little things like that to be missed.
Yes, and
So
this is why
cool.
discussions are important. But
Yeah,
agreed.
Indeed.
Yeah.
a nice little touch, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
So
So
then from
yeah,
that
you do
point,
that.
yeah.
You want to go ahead, Rob? You
No, no,
want
no.
to
I was
kick it
gonna
off?
say from that point, I'm just trying to remember what happened next because I think it was just basically a cutscene before you head off to Hercules' world. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a cutscene. I think it's one of the ones from the trailer. Everyone's standing in front of Master
Sid.
Yen Sid, and they're talking about where what they need to do. Sora loses all of his power, so now
Like
he's got to go.
he's got
He's
to
got
get
to
his
go.
power back.
Yeah, he's
This
got to
is
go figure
basically a
out.
cutscene from 0.2. Like this is exactly how 0.2 ends with them being in Jensen's tower talking about all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then
So he's gotta try and figure out how to get his strength back, how to get the power of awakening. So the first thing they do, hey, you know who was weak once but then became strong?
Hercules.
That guy Hercules. So they drop. So then you get in your gummy ship, and where do you go? You go to Olympus.
Well, the thing is, also when they get to the gummy ship, they realize that but the paths were closed off, right? And it's like, oh no,
Yes.
how do we get anywhere? And it's just like, may your heart be your guiding key, and it's
Yes,
kind of like one of those things. Yeah.
the beginning of that mantra that gets repeated a bunch of times in the
Over
game.
and over
Yep. They
and
kind of.
over.
I mean, if anything, they really like kick you over the head with all the Kingdom Hearts Cross Union stuff because that's literally where that came from. But can we
Oh,
just
is
stop?
it really?
Yeah, it's from Cross Union because all the foretellers they used to say that a lot in the past, and that's why it's being passed down and all that fun stuff.
Uh-huh.
But can we take a moment and just appreciate that after the Gummy ship zooms off, you get a title card that says Kingdom Hearts 2.9.
Oh man,
I
they went there.
love that.
They went there.
I was like,
that's
I was
gotta be
laughing
tongue in
my
cheek,
ass
right?
off.
Say that again?
What was that?
No, Mark with the C. What did you say?
Oh, I was saying that I laughed my ass off when I
yeah.
saw that. That was like the most self-aware moment that game has ever had.
I was gonna say that
Because
had to be on purpose, right? Like you don't
Yeah.
just say that.
100%.
because the whole game is so complicated, or like they like the way they tied things in after the fact, and the story is convoluted at least to a certain extent. And they did this crazy naming convention where they're like, all right, 2, 2.5, 2.8, 0.2, which if you think about it, 2.9 should have taken place within 0.2, but you know what? I'll give them a pass. Fine.
Listen,
It should have been
story doesn't
0.1.
matter.
It should have been
doesn't matter.
0.1, so you add 0.1. Yeah.
Exactly. But
But
still,
no, they didn't think it through.
yeah, that's also another really cool moment that I had thinking like while I was seeing that was like, okay, this is 2.9, which means we have not even started 3 yet.
Right.
There's like
it's funny.
so much more to come.
Yep. When you bring that up, it's funny because I mean, I'm jumping a little bit in the story here, but the idea is it starts off with the title card at 2.9. You go to Olympus, you finish Olympus, and that's when you see Kingdom Hearts 3. Like Kingdom Hearts 3, like the logo actually show up. And it's funny to think about it because I think the whole point of the Olympus world was to be yet another like
It's an extra
a setup.
tutorial.
It's a glorified tutorial, and it's
Mhm.
also one of the worlds that has been the mainstay for
Yep.
almost every Kingdom Hearts game.
And
Pretty much every, including Birth by Sleep.
I
Yeah,
think it might
and-
be in all of them.
Yeah, it is.
Except for
Or
Dream
at
Drop
least
Distance?
I wouldn't know. I never finished Dream Drop
Okay,
Distance.
I think that's the only exception.
But
But
I mean, they also lay out, one of the plot points for this game. I say plot points with air quotes because talk about that later. But the black box is introduced during Olympus
Right.
Yes.
as well, or reintroduced, if you will. I don't know.
Well, not
And
the
a
box
real-
itself, but more the fact that the box exists because
Yes,
what's-
that.
Yeah.
Maleficent's looking for it, right?
Yep.
Real misdirection though, if you ask me, because They bring up the black box very, very. It's like in the first intro scene where
Yeah.
Hades meets Maleficent, and they ask about the black box, and you're like, okay, this must be like pretty central, and then you don't hear about it at all until one of the last worlds, and then you hear about it for like 5 seconds, and then it's not part of the main story of the game.
Well, I mean, it takes place during a lot of the, endings for or not a lot of them, but in some of them, Maleficent and Pete show up in the worlds, and they're
Like,
like, "Oh,
nope, the
nope,
box isn't here.
I guess it's
Yeah.
not here either. Let's go to the next place."
Like, it adds nothing. It really doesn't add anything to the story of Kingdom Hearts 3. But I digress.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so you go through Olympus. You experience a bunch of boss fights. It teaches you about a bunch of stuff.
I almost got my ass handed to me when I was riding a rail. I didn't know how that made me feel about my skills at the time.
Oh, I remember you bringing that up because I too had a lot of trouble on those rails at first.
I didn't understand how the shooty thing works. I'm like, am I not shooting them? Why are they hitting me? It's like I thought I was bad at the game, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah, and it's like it shoots in like a burst of like 6 or 7 shots.
Right, and then you can't shoot.
And then there's a little like cooldown, and then you do it again, and it just, I don't know, man. It took a little while for me to get used to it.
But I mean, there's not much to say about Olympus, I think. So among the tutorials that you're introduced to in Olympus, there was also flow motion. So I just have a general question. I know I'm jumping on topics again, but did you guys use flow motion that much in combat?
In combat, no, not really at all.
Yeah,
I feel like I was forgetting to do that.
I did use it to move around the world, like
Yeah.
when I was basically wall jumping off of stuff, and I really liked
that's fun.
doing that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a more efficient way to get around. But like,
well,
go ahead.
But they also, I did play a little bit of Dream Drop Distance, so I understood the flow motion mechanics, and in that you could literally just wall jump for days.
Yep,
and
but
gain
not so much. Yeah.
so much height. But in this game, I thought maybe you would, unlock extra super jumps later on in the game, but that's not the case. You get that one super flow motion jump, and that was it. So, like, flow motion was good for if you were darting back and forth in like a tight corridor, but not really for anything more than that.
Especially since a lot of the world is like open spaces, so you can jump off a wall, but it's too far to get to the other wall, so it doesn't really do much for you.
The place where I used flow motion the most by far was in the Big Hero 6 world, because you could just chain flow motion off of the street lights.
Oh yeah,
and so it would let you get around so fast.
Right. No. Like, I don't want to. I mean, we're jumping around a bit again, but like, I think you have to use flow motion in the Big Hero world simply because it's so damn big. It's like, if you're not using flow motion to get around, then you're kind of doing it a little wrong.
Well, you're either doing that or you're grinding on the highway rails.
Right. Which again is
or
a little
combination
more
of
boring.
both, which was always cool to do.
Right. Or zipping
I
around
should do those
using
time
your
trials.
focus gauge.
Forgot
I
about
forgot
that.
what it's called for a second. That's all right.
What'd you say?
Nothing. Or I was saying like zipping around using your focus gauge. I forgot what it's
Oh
called.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Something step, right?
Yeah, something step. I
Air
forgot what
step?
it's called. But you
Air
know what I'm
step.
talking about. Quick
Yeah.
step. Sure.
But yeah, okay, so getting back to the chronology, right? So we're in Olympus. Now, I thought the cool thing about Olympus, because like we mentioned in our previous live stream, that like the games I have the most experience with are 1, Chain of Memories, and 2. And in those, it's really just the one environment in Olympus, which is the Colosseum area.
Yeah.
And this does not have the Colosseum at all. You're in Olympus, like the city. You're in a like hilly, like wilderness area that's very pretty, and then you're in a wilderness area that's very like dark and stormy, and then you're in Olympus, unless I'm
Right.
referring to it incorrectly, like the Valley of the Gods, I think it's called.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so like there is a lot of different types of environments in here, and I thought as far as all the worlds went, this was one of the more interestingly laid out ones that had a lot of variety to it.
I mean, I think it's something that's sorely missing from the Hercules world in general. It's just sort of like all up to this point, all we ever got was Colosseum. And yes, while the
Hey,
Colosseum is
wait,
good,
don't forget about the underworld. We did get the
okay, and the
underworld.
Underworld. That's true. We did get a bit
Which
of
was
the
another
Underworld too.
Colosseum, basically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was some exploration
That's true.
in the underworld compared
very
to just.
lightly.
So
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that.
it was really nice that they included a world from all the other games, but they didn't give us the same version of the world. So that I applaud.
Agree. But then, yeah, no, I agree. Pretty
I
much.
wish there was Colosseum, though. I wish you could still do Colosseum fights because I always really liked those.
I
that's
I
agree.
know,
what the
Rob. I
endgame
remember.
bosses are
I remember
for.
I mentioned this to you, and you were like not super torn about it,
What
right?
about the Colosseum?
Yeah, like you didn't seem to miss the Colosseum very much.
I mean, that's probably me being partial because I was trying to rush the games at the time, so I don't exactly have any fond memories of trying to do them. I was basically trying to finish them as soon as possible. From my perspective, they just look like a logjam that take up a lot of time, more time than necessary. But again,
Well,
that's self-bias.
I'll just say, and I know we're gonna get to it later, but it was the Colosseums used to be nice because it was something you would be able to go back to and build up some extra experience if you were trying to grind a little bit and come out with a nice reward if you completed it. So I
True.
do think it was missed a little bit in the in the grand scheme of things going through the story.
Yeah.
Like, I see where you're coming from. I don't disagree with the sentiment. That's just my perspective on it, And I totally see where you're coming from too. So it's a bit of a shame that they don't include something similar to that. Well, they kind of do, but it's not as good.
Yeah, I mean, if ideally it would be kind of both, but if I had to choose between that or just a bunch of Colosseum fights, I'd probably choose what we got. I think that
Yeah.
was like it was definitely more interesting. But a question for you guys: the final boss of that uh world
Hold on,
was
be careful. Which final boss?
well, I'm referring to the three
Okay.
golems.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that I was assuming that's where you
Yeah,
just needed to make sure because they pull the old bamboozle on you.
I know. Well, what do you think it was at first? It was like the rock golem, right?
Yeah, so you
Yeah.
fight the rock titan while you're
Right.
ascending up to the valley of the gods, and then you meet
All three. When
you
you're
meet
on...
the no you don't meet it's the ice titan, right? Was the
Mhm.
rock titan there too? I thought it was like
Yeah, it was
a
ice and
lava
rock and
titan
wind.
or
I
some
think
shit.
it may have been all
There's
three,
four.
and then
And then
you
there
fight
was-
the like tornado.
Tornado.
so
Yep.
so the tornado is there, but you don't actually fight the tornado during the triple fight. You fight the tornado afterwards after
After.
you beat the other two.
Yep.
Right.
True.
Yeah. What did you guys think of that one? I thought that one like is a little awkward. At least when you're doing the triple fight, 'cause you have to stand on that little hill
On the hill.
thing.
Yeah.
Remember that?
It felt kind of weird to me too. Like, I'm like, I mean, I did it, but for some reason it just felt just odd. I see where you're coming from. I
Yeah.
can't
It
put my
was-
finger on it.
It was weird because it really made like the camera angle like extremely awkward
Oh yeah, that
for
part for sure.
for attacking the titans. But honestly, it's like I never felt during that fight like I was
Challenged.
in any sort of danger.
Like, their
you know,
attack patterns were very
yeah.
predictable. It's like you see them winding up, get off the hill, and get
Y-
back on the
yeah.
hill, and
It's
start
it's like
attacking again.
it's like they just stood there and let you wail on them for the entirety of that fight.
Yeah. The tornado was cooler. You were flying. You were constantly in flight during that, if I
Yep.
remember correctly.
And
that
then you
boss
got
fight,
to use the shot step in order
step, that's it.
to get closer to him so you could attack.
that
Yes.
boss fight with the tornado, that felt a lot like Agrabah. You guys remember that from Kingdom Hearts 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, when
Yeah,
you're
that's
fighting
what I
it
was
far.
thinking when I was fighting
Or
it.
the
I'm
or
like,
the like evil genie or whatever
Evil Genie.
it was.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much. Yeah. I'm like, this feels familiar.
I'll just say as a whole, I don't particularly care for fights that you don't have your feet on the ground. I don't know what it is. It changes everything. It makes it feel really weird that
Well, yeah.
that you don't like your ground combo plus like ability, like it doesn't matter
Yeah.
for
Yep.
a fight like that. I don't it's just I prefer boots on the ground.
Agree.
Giant feet
Agree,
on the
yeah,
ground,
totally.
if you will.
But he doesn't have
Because
giant
that didn't
feet in this
change.
game, though. No, it did.
Big
He doesn't have
sneakers
giant
on the
feet
ground.
anymore.
He had giant feet at the beginning. Compared to Riku,
Yeah.
his
These are
feet are
regular
still big,
Fine.
but they're definitely not as big as they were in the previous games.
They're
so,
not clown shoes anymore. Yeah.
No, they're oh god.
So okay, so we're done with Olympus. Herc
Yes.
tells Sora, like you mentioned before, Mark, I lost my powers once before, and it was, I regained them, and it was because of, the people he loved around him, right? It was his friends that gave him strength, right? So Sora returns to
Oh yeah, Phil doesn't
Yensid.
speak at all. I just wanted to comment on that.
Get on the Hydra's
I know.
back.
Ugh, God, I wish he could say that again. It's so
Okay,
sad.
sorry. That's my last
You know what's
comment.
really strange? He's there for one scene, and he's just like nodding.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
odd. It's like if you can't have him speak, don't have him on screen. It's
Yeah,
really
just
Well-
take him
really
off the
good.
camera.
I mean, I'll have that. I'm gonna have that same argument when we meet two other characters later in the game. But also, before we jump out of Olympus for a second, I just wanted to see if you guys noticed this, like I did. Throughout the world of Olympus, there are a bunch of little Hercules statues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not statues, but like
Like toys.
figurines everywhere.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I really thought that they were gonna be some sort of collectible, but they
I
weren't.
did too. I thought they were gonna be something later in the game. It's gonna be a challenge to be like, collect all the dolls and get a prize
So-
or something.
There's gold Hercules statues that I think if you like attack them, it like maybe not adds it to your inventory, but there's some like notification about it.
That's it?
Interesting.
Have you ever seen those?
Huh.
I
No,
don't.
I
think
I'll
haven't.
see if
saw
I
the
could look
gold.
them up. But I remember encountering a few.
Huh. Yeah, because I remember seeing all those toys strewn about, and I'm just sort of like, these can't just
Yeah.
be here for the sake of being here, right?
Yeah, like I saw them and I'm like, this is very obviously supposed to be a collectible. Why can't I collect it?
Yeah, that's a bit odd. I do agree. I
Oh,
didn't
yeah, okay.
think about it. What's up?
So real quickly, for those who don't know, you can collect these golden Herc figures and bring them to a merchant in Agora in exchange for a new piece of gear. So you could collect
Ah.
those. Yeah.
Okay,
they do
so
add
only
them to
the
your
gold
inventory.
ones though.
As far as I know, yes.
Okay.
There's only 5 of them. I don't know if maybe the other ones can do similar, but I know the gold ones have a purpose.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know for later on if I want to do like a completionist, you know,
Yeah.
like whatever.
But there's all those other ones. You would think that those.
Yeah,
Those
like,
would be important, yep.
especially considering, old games had a lot of collectibles. Like you had the Dalmatians in Kingdom Hearts 1. That could have been something similar, but
Oh yeah.
it is what is. But anyway, yeah, then they so then you leave the world and then you're posed with your first choice, which is actually I think where we get our first deviation amongst our play routes.
Yep, because so the choices were you either go to Corona or you head off to Toy Box. And I'm the guy that went off to Corona because I was like, you know what? That seems interesting, and I've never watched Tangled before, so I
Oh,
wanted
sorry.
to go there
Can I
first.
just interrupt for 2 seconds? I'm sorry,
Oh,
Rob.
go
Of
for it. No,
course
no,
you
go for it.
can.
The Hercules statues, the regular ones, I believe, are tied to a photo mission. That's all.
Oh my! Of course they are.
That's
Of-
all I'm
You gotta
gonna
take
say.
a picture of all of them. Oh, okay.
Oh,
I
my
guess
gosh.
I didn't really look too much into it, but
I can see
I believe
that.
it's part of a photo
That
mission.
you know what? It makes so much sense now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of
because
sense.
because you go through that entire world without the photo system. Ugh.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Yes. And you have to go back to get all your lucky emblems.
Yeah, backtracking for that was kind of a pain in the butt. Though I will say I appreciate when you backtrack that the world actually changes based on the events. Like it's no longer on fire. You can travel a lot faster when you're up in the Valley of the Gods. Stuff like that. I
Yeah.
appreciate. But I
Yeah,
digress.
agreed. But yes, sorry for interrupting.
No, no, no,
We
no,
were
no. I
talking
mean, I
about
was just
the
saying we were talking
world
about our
section.
diverging points. Like I went
Yeah.
off to Corona, you two went off to Toy Box.
Yeah,
Um,
because
so-
fucking Toy Story
Well,
is
yeah,
in the game.
I get
and
that, and I realize that
why-
that's the easy route. I mean, that's the
And-
route that most people will go to.
Wow!
So I do
Oh,
the
this guy's
exact
throwing
opposite.
shade at us
Yeah, well,
already.
what I was gonna
Wow!
say.
Coming from the guy who didn't play on Proud, am I
Yeah,
right?
exactly. What I was
Ugh.
gonna say is that I went to Toy Box first, not because I have a particular affinity for Toy Story. It was
Yeah.
because I was playing on Proud mode, and I was like, this seems like the
The logical.
one that's more attuned to my level for
Yeah,
Proud.
it's the one that's got the lower number. That's why I picked the one with the higher number.
Yeah.
That's my
Whatever,
point,
dude.
though.
Ugh.
But that's exactly
But-
why that leads to my argument about normal being too easy. But I
But,
digress.
uh,
But
That's
you
for
know
later.
what? The canonical F is Toy Box first because the 2 out of 3 of us went there, so we're gonna do
Yep,
Toy
so-
Box first.
So this game makes you get back in your gummy ship, and
Oh, this is the first
you-
time you see the gummy ship.
this is
like,
yeah. So
mechanic.
this is the first time you get into the gummy ship as a player, and it's a real noticeable difference from gummy missions of old. It's a bit more open-ended,
Open-worldly,
and
yeah.
and there's actually stuff you can explore in the gummy world now.
like puzzle planets, which are good for upgrade materials. I actually did all the gold planets just because I wanted the
Yeah.
upgrade materials.
And you
I
don't
didn't-
have to do combat missions. You can just
Fly over them.
fly,
You-
avoid stuff until you get to your destination,
You-
which I
you
thought was a
can-
cool idea.
And if you get into a combat mission in your gummy ship, you could also leave the gummy mission. Or
Yeah.
You
leave
can?
the
I've
combat
never tried
mission.
that.
Yep.
How?
Yep, because literally in my first journey to Toy Box, I got into a fight with something that was like a 3-star level, and I was like, "Oh nah,
Oops.
my gummy ship's not doing any damage to this. I'll be here all night if I do." So you press the pause button. It says leave combat, so I left it.
Oh wow.
Nice.
That's like quality of life change right there. Instead of
Yeah.
having to force yourself to shoot
Also-
things like you had in previous. Go ahead.
Also, I will say I almost ended up in Corona right away because you can set waypoints to where you want to go, but I didn't know that at first, so I thought that the dot that shows up where the planet is, I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, that must be the waypoint for where I need to go." And then I ended up and I see Corona and I'm like, "Hold on. I didn't fucking want to go to Corona." So I had to turn around
You
fly
actually
all the
turned
way
around.
across the galaxy and go back to Toy.
Actually, you know what? Truth be told, I'm pretty sure that's the reason I ended up in Corona, honestly, anyway, because I didn't know you could set a waypoint.
and he
so, yeah, I
and he
followed the
prefaced
circle.
it
Yeah.
and he prefaced it by saying he'd never seen Tangled, so he wanted to go there first.
Well, I mean, part of that was true, but I mean, I didn't actually set the waypoint for it. I just let my heart be the guiding key, and that's where it
Wow,
took me.
that-
Yeah, see,
But
he let us believe that he was like, I'm looking for a challenge. This is too easy for me.
Well,
No,
I
he
mean,
was
part of
acting,
that
just
was
didn't
also
know how to set a
true.
waypoint.
he ended up there by mistake.
Yep.
I
It's
mean, that was part of it.
Rob, it's cool, man. It's cool.
Yeah.
We're all
well.
friends here.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah,
Well-
you guys went to Toy
so-
Box. I get it.
Anyway, Toy Box. There we go.
Can I say real quick? This was the most, if you ask me, controversial world in the game.
Controversial? How? You mean-
Ooh,
I say
tell-
so because it really focuses on that mech combat, and
Yeah.
those mechs are a pain to fight when you're not in one.
Oh
and
yeah.
Yeah.
That made
I-
the combat for me feel not that exciting because you're
Yeah,
just
that
getting
was my
into it and you're
qualm.
like, I want to use my second form on my kingdom, and I want to use magic and whatever. But then eventually you're like, this is really difficult unless I just get in a mech. Even though the mech combat was fun, I just
But
felt
it,
like
it like it
centered around too
forces you
much.
to do that. That was my main
Yeah.
qualm with it. I don't know if
I-
I was able to explain it very well when I texted about it, but like my qualm was that it forces you to have to use mechs in order to fight those mechs. You don't have really much of an option there. It's
Yeah, I
just
was gonna
limiting, you
say
know.
that like I actually ended up avoiding a lot of combat in Toy Box because I really didn't want to deal with having to knock out a mech in
Mhm.
order to get into a mech. And
Yeah, that was not
you,
fun.
you absolutely had to for like the first portion when you get to the toy store. So let's rewind a little bit. You spawn into Andy's room.
Well, you get a
And
cutscene first, but you know.
yeah, so you spawn into Andy's room and you get a very it's like you have Rex playing a video game in a video game.
Oh
And
no, it's the
it's
trailer of Verum Rex watching
right
Verum Rex
on the
on the
TV.
TV. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's almost reminiscent of Toy Story 2 with uh Rex watching TV with Zurg on the TV, which spoiler alert, there's no Zurg in the Toy Story world. That's gonna be a no for me, dog.
That's true.
But
That is kind of a disservice.
but you spawn in and you get a very similar feeling to when Buzz is introduced in the original Toy Story, where it's like, I don't know if we could trust this guy, sort of vibe.
Well, it's
And then,
ironic because everyone accepted them readily except for Buzz.
except exactly, and you try and prove your worth by fighting the Heartless first and foremost, and you do, and then you go on your way to the toy store, and now we're back to where we were.
Yeah, quick question before we get into the toy. Yeah, they're looking for Andy. That's why they go to the toy store. But question, do you guys enjoy the design of Sora, Donald, and Goofy for Toy Box, where they're like made out
Oh
Absolutely.
of
yeah.
blocks?
I that that is probably my favorite look for them. You know what? Maybe that's
Really?
not so true.
Yeah.
That
I
might
mean,
not
it's
be
good.
true.
There's a lot of good designs to pick from. It's a hard
I,
choice
I
to
I've
say.
I've got I definitely have a top three, but we can get to that later. I enjoyed it. I thought it was cute.
Yeah, I thought it was
Yeah,
very
I think it's
fitting.
cute.
They looked like toys.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I didn't. I wouldn't say it's a favorite. I did think it was cute though. I thought that some of the other designs, uh, other world specific designs were a little bit better, but I guess that's just a personal opinion thing. But yeah, getting into the actual story of the world. We're looking for Andy. We go to the toy store to find him,
You get assaulted by a
and
bunch of
then
robots. That's how that store
yes,
opens up with. I thought that was annoying.
it's an interesting, but like thinking about it, it's an interesting way they approached it because Buzz and Woody and everyone else are like, what are these monster things? Of course,
Yep.
we know they're the Heartless, and then we're also like, what are these robot things?
And they're like they're toys.
Yeah, which I guess they were maybe like possessed by Heartless or something. Maybe that was like the
Oh,
justification, but still was like the toys were monsters and the Heartless were monsters, and like
well,
everyone was
I
a little confused.
so like the mechs in particular were being piloted by Heartless.
Yep.
Oh
Mhm.
yes, yeah, you're
That
right.
like, and that's why when you fought against a mech,
They'd pop
like
out. Yeah.
the heart popped out of it, but the mech didn't get destroyed.
Yes.
So that was that.
Another thing to mention. In the beginning, Rex thinks that Sora is Yozora from the
From Verum
trailer
Rex.
of the video
Of-
game he's watching in the beginning of the world cutscene. It's for a game called Verum Rex, which is what the mechs come from. Like the mech toys are toys from that game.
from Verum
Yep.
Rex. Yep.
That's all fictionalized in the toy box world. You're like, this is cute. The protagonist kind of looks like Riku. Uh, you're like, oh, this is like a fun little like breaking of the fourth. It looks like a Final Fantasy game.
I mean, the thing is,
And
when
you
that
think
cutscene
nothing of
first
it.
came on, I was like, "Wait a minute, am I suddenly playing Final Fantasy?" Because that's
Yeah.
what the cutscene was that pristine. It's just sort of like, what is this?
Yeah, and you think nothing of it, but of course it comes back basically at the very end of the game as some weird possibility of something else, but we'll talk about that a bit later. Also, in this world, you see Apprentice Xehanort or Terranort.
No,
Like
this
you
is
actually
young
No,
Xehanort.
young Xehanort.
Young Xehanort.
wait. Young Xehanort would be Apprentice Xehanort.
Yes, who is
Yes.
Xehanort from when he was a kid. Yeah, that's Apprentice Xehanort. Yeah,
Uh,
but that's
Apprentice
not
Xehanort and young
Terranort.
Xehanort.
Yeah,
Not Terranort. Okay,
Terranort
my
is
bad.
different. Yeah.
I know.
But
Try,
there,
try,
yes,
try and follow along, okay?
but that that character, because they basically look the same, but it's Apprentice or young Xehanort you
Yep.
meet um for the first time, and you interact with him as Sora for the first time. uh he like throws you into the world of Virum Rex for a
Yep.
minute, and you do this like mech arena
Mm-hmm.
fight, which is actually really fun.
See, that's
I
okay.
really
That
like
I can
that.
take, like, because it's meant to be a mech on mech fight. Like, that's supposed
Yeah.
to be the way it's
Okay,
supposed to evolve.
hold on. While we're on the subject of mechs, and we're talking about like the mech combat that you get thrown into, purple mech is best mech. Just saying.
That's the one with the least
I
health.
mean, that's
though.
because purple's your favorite color.
No, it's the one with the least health, but it also has the fastest fire rate, and
Oh, okay.
it,
I
it was
liked
it was
the
the
red
best
one because you could tackle. Dude.
That's fair. That's fair.
What? Oh,
But purple mech is best mech, and
Alright.
it has been decided.
I'm
Okay.
not gonna argue with you on that.
it's a mech.
like
I
the
think
red
we can agree on that.
Well,
but
Rob, you have to
yeah.
go with the blue one now, but
That's
we'd have a split decision.
yep.
Okay,
Um,
but yeah. but getting
Yes.
back to Toy Box in general, though, so you're in the store. The main objective of the store is to find your friends who all got separated, right?
Yep, and they get, oh my god. Can I just say that they get separated. You go and you find Rex, and then you lose Rex again,
yeah.
and then you have to go and find him again.
and really it's all because he ran upstairs because he wanted to check out the newest copy of Verum Rex. I'm just sort of
Yep.
like, wow, that's what you
And-
went for. How the hell did you even get up there? You know, stuff like that. You get really
So-
existential questions out of it.
So along your route to getting around, you end up in the doll room looking for your friends, and I believe you're looking for, there's a sound that you have to find, and you have to find which one's different. And this is something that I thought was really awesome, and it's a callback to Toy Story 2 when you have to run on the record player
Oh
to,
yeah,
to get the music to play. I thought that was so
That's-
cool
that's a
that
good
you
point.
that you got to run on the record player to spin it and make the music, and then afterwards Sora is out of breath and Woody just looks at him and he's like, "It's not as easy as it looks, huh?"
I forgot that was a thing in Toy Story 2. It's been that long since I've seen it. Now that you bring it up, yeah, that was a thing that happened, wasn't it?
Like that was, again, a lot of this game, especially, or a lot of the Toy Story world was like, it was just very, very cute. A lot of the stuff that they call back to. But so you're in the doll room, and you get your first, I would say, boss fight. Yeah, it's definitely your first boss fight for this world. I wouldn't so much count the mech arena as
You mean
a
like the
boss fight.
big doll?
The
Yeah.
big doll,
Yeah.
Right.
the anime doll.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes,
Uh huh.
it's like
Yep.
floating around.
Yeah, that's your first big fight, and it's a good fight. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I had a hard time with that one. I mean, I think that was where I got my first death of the game.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning that. That makes sense. I mean, like that was it could have been difficult if you. Yeah, I could totally see that.
Yeah, because you're in that really big that the doll store is really big, and you're managing a
Yeah, because there's a
Other
lot of
little
other
Heartless.
Heartless there.
Yeah.
Just being a pain in the butt, you know.
You know, just a general observation. Before we get too far into the entire discussion, but it's like every boss fight in the game takes place in a really large arena.
Yeah.
Did you notice
Yeah.
that?
Yep.
Yes.
It's not claustrophobic at all. I guess they did that on purpose. Question mark.
Just really quick note, because we'll talk about this throughout, but all of the final bosses of the worlds, except for I think Pirates of the Caribbean, were just kind of generic big Heartless.
Yeah.
And I really was
Yeah.
upset that they
Very
weren't more like
very disappointing.
story-related
Like,
bosses.
Yeah, they weren't unique. That was one of the complaints was going to bring up again eventually later too. It's just there's nothing about them that sets them really apart design-wise. I mean, I
Yeah.
can think about some of their movesets being unique, but like not really, not all that far. It's not really like a big story
Yeah.
boss sort of thing.
Yeah,
But-
But
exactly.
yeah.
But so anyway, you get through the doll fight and you finish finding all your friends, and just when you think you're done, you're not done, and then you fight a big generic Heartless. Not
Yes,
really
the-
generic
the
Heartless.
UFO
The
Heartless.
Well,
the
remember,
UFO
like,
Heartless.
what's it? Buzz gets possessed at some point too.
That's
or-
right. That's
Or
right.
he gets,
Yeah.
Oh yes,
or,
you're
he gets
going
Norded, I
into-
guess.
He does get
Yeah,
Norded.
you go into a door to darkness in that world.
Yes. You
That's
have to-
where you fight the
you have to
the
build
UFO.
a giant stairway to a door to darkness.
Which, hold up,
The
I
Final
know there's
Fantasy
no
reference.
Final Fantasy characters, but that's a big cactus.
Yeah.
That thing that you like knock down to make the pathway. It's a big cactar. That was the only
Yeah, that's
Final Fantasy reference. Which
well,
is so
outside
odd.
of that, and like the flashbacks from Hades at the very beginning, where he recounts that he used, Cloud and Auron. Those are the only.
Mhm.
I don't think that even counts, honestly, man.
Do you count the Moogle?
You have
Oh,
to
the
count,
Moogle, yeah.
you have to count the Moogle. Koopa.
But that's about it. Ha ha ha. I know, that's just sad. I think we'll come back to this later, but that really is, as far as the Final Fantasy characters are concerned, all you see in this game.
Yeah. So I mean, so you fight the giant UFO Heartless, and that was my first death. Was the UFO Heartless?
Oh yeah,
because
that was a pain in the butt, though. I mean, like,
I played it very stupidly, and Donald doesn't like to heal when he's supposed to fucking.
The-
Ugh.
I didn't like the like reaction command with
with Buzz and oh yeah, it's hard to
Buzz-
control that thing.
yes, the rocket. I
Yeah.
thought
Oh,
it was
yeah,
like
yeah,
it
yeah,
didn't
the
really work the
situation.
way it was supposed to.
Yeah.
It's a throwback to Toy Story 1. I appreciate it, but damn, does that thing control like a
But-
piece of trash.
But you know what? Since we're talking about it, the one from the Olympus Keyblade specific.
Oh
situation
yeah, that one
command,
too. The camera.
That like you could continuously you had
Oh,
to
the chariot thing?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
you
Yeah.
had to continuously adjust the camera, and even still, it didn't work right.
Like
You
why do
know,
you
I don't know if you
close
guys
up?
knew about this, but there's a setting, there's just a menu setting where you can turn off the cinematic camera for all of those moves, and that
Wow.
probably makes it a lot easier. I didn't do it, but there
I
is
didn't
an
know that was
That
a
would
thing.
have been good to know, like
Yeah.
2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, that would definitely have helped for the chariot one for sure, because that
Yeah.
thing zooms in on you like it's no one's business. It's like I don't care what Sora's expression is like. I just want to know where my chariot's going. But yeah, so basically, yeah, you fight the giant UFO. Then you chase around to get Buzz back, right? That's pretty much how that chapter goes. No. At that point, the chapter's over, right? Because you get to the big
Yeah.
UFO. That's how you
Yeah,
find.
the final boss is the UFO, and then
After that, you have
Buzz.
the stare down where Woody tells young Xehanort, "You've never been loved by anyone."
Oh
yes,
yeah.
Yo, Woody was
was
just
so
like,
lit.
I ain't playing your games.
I'm like, so there were two thoughts that went through my head. One, that was an intense burn. Apply burn heal to the burned area.
Hmm.
And two, that is like one of the first times where we actually see Disney World characters interacting with our Kingdom Hearts characters.
Yeah.
Because
Right. So
in the past,
okay,
they've always been relegated. Go ahead.
another general observation throughout the course of the game, they bring a lot of attention in every world not to break the order. Sorry, you can't
Yeah.
talk about it. You can't break the order. And like give on to what's really happening, but it's like what? But you
Like, what?
do. You're absolutely breaking the order. You know what the Heartless are. You know what the Nobodies are. How are you not breaking the order of the worlds by going to them and clearing the Heartless from them?
It's like the Heartless is already making waves, just by being a bad presence in the world they're in right now. How is anything you say gonna make it better or worse, right?
Right? And it's like they try and, you know, play it off like because their appearance changes from world to world, so it's like, oh no, we're just toys, but it's like you're clearly more than just a toy if you know what the heart, like, if you're a toy in the toy box world, you shouldn't know what the heartless are, but you know what the
But you
heartless
know
are.
what they are, therefore you are something different. Yeah.
But
But yeah.
just that was just a general observation, and it kind of irked me throughout the course of the game. But anyway,
Well, I
you,
mean,
you
if we're closing out Toy Box, one other short comment I gotta make is, do you guys realize that the whole reason Toy Box is screwed up is because under the reasoning that I think, I don't know, someone, Sora or Donald gave, was that maybe they split up this world into a twin world, one
right,
where Andy
right.
doesn't exist. And we never address how that happened. Isn't
Yeah.
that kind of important? It sounds like splitting a world into two sounds very important and powerful to me. I don't know about you guys.
You know what? It probably should have been important, but it wasn't enough
No, it wasn't.
in the eyes of, you know, how the game was developed.
Yeah.
It's
And I
weird.
mean, there is no returning to worlds for a secondary storyline. So, although the stories in the main worlds were long, there are definitely loose ends like that, which was not cool. I mean, as much as, I really just wanted Kingdom Hearts story, they really could have,
Done
resolved
something
that a little
better.
bit better. Yeah.
I mean, we'll come back to this when we talk about the overarching like Disney worlds as a whole. But this is the first. That was the first time I noticed. I'm just sort of like, the world was split into two. That sounds important.
Kind
and we're not
kind of
talking about
important.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we skipped something.
Yeah,
We
we're
made a grave
apparently we're
error.
not good Kingdom Hearts people if
Yeah.
we skipped this.
And this would be Twilight Town.
Yes.
So
Oh yeah. Oops.
We forgot that you, in between Olympus and your choice between the first two worlds, you go to Twilight Town.
Right.
yeah.
So is anyone
Uh,
else disappointed by the fact that Twilight Town was relegated to just one section? I honestly
Yeah.
thought, like, yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to go in the mansion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you would.
I wanted to
and
go to
I
the
mean,
hideout. You know,
You do go into the mansion in the
Cutscenes.
cutscene.
Yeah.
I would have also liked to have visited the train station. Quite honestly,
I would have
Yeah.
wanted to see, like, their hideout, which was right up the slope. I went up the slope and it asked me to go back to the world map. I'm like,
yeah,
wait,
I know.
I
That
can't
was
go
such a
up there.
bummer.
I
Yeah.
I don't understand what impact it would have had to have gone to these places that we'd already had, like, you already are going basically back to the mansion. Why can't I go in the mansion?
hmm
Not enough room on the disc.
Yes.
Though speaking about just Twilight Town, like the way it starts off, you fight a giant swarm of Heartless. How'd you guys fare with that?
I really thought that thing was gonna kick my ass, and then I realized eventually that the fight doesn't last.
Yeah.
As long as the
Kill it.
health bar. I saw the health
Yeah.
bar and I was
Yeah.
scared. I'm like,
I
"Holy
was like, how am I supposed to hit this Heartless? Like, I think that was really my first encounter with the Olympus Keyblade situation command, and I was just like, oh, this thing is useless.
yeah, because the thing keeps
But-
jumping all over the place. Yeah, that was my thought
But
too.
I'm very glad that encounter is not the full health bar
Yeah.
of the wave of Heartless,
Yeah, it was really only like 3 out of the
Because-
10.
because I was like, I'm never gonna get past this point if that's the case.
Yeah.
I was so
uh,
scared. Yeah.
But let's
yeah,
let's
thankfully
go
it
let's
wasn't
go through Twilight Town a little bit quickly, because there wasn't really too much happening. Like you basically just get dropped off there.
You get your gummy phone.
You get your
You
gummy
gummy
phone.
phone from Chip and Dale, which gummy phone is. I like the gummy phone. That's how you get your selfie mode.
Yep.
That's where you learn about the lucky emblems, I believe.
Yep.
Because there's a
Uh,
lucky emblem right by the Moogle shop that they make a
Yes.
picture of.
It's nice to be back there and hear the music and blah blah blah. But yes, you fight the Demon Tide, I believe that's the name of
Yeah, Steven Tide.
and
that's
then
what it's
you
called.
fight you meet up with Hayner Pensolette, you fight your way through the the forest like you do in Kingdom Hearts 2, and then you
Yep.
get to the mansion, which is where you learn about some of the recompleted organization members.
Yeah, that's where you see Yenzo for the first time.
Yep.
And the other two who are the guardsmen, I forgot their names,
And-
but they don't
and
speak.
it's
Yeah, they don't speak at all.
it's Alias and, well, you know what? I'm just gonna go by their organization members. It's Lexius and Zaldin.
There
Right,
you
They
go.
don't, and they do not talk, and it bothers the fuck out of me.
Yeah,
They
man.
show up a lot for characters that don't
And-
talk.
They show up a lot, and they get they get a lot of screen time for the limited role that they serve in this game. And just when you think they're gonna open their mouth and talk,
They
guess
just
what?
grunt or something like.
They don't.
Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah, they're just running. They're just running back and forth across the.
Because they're trying to find all the rest. Like they
Yeah.
couldn't find Evan, and they couldn't find
Right.
Lee or Isa, and they're like, where did they go? So they were running all around Radiant Garden, which you don't get to go to in this game, by the way. Which
Great
made me very
disservice.
upset.
We'll get to it.
Yeah,
we'll
huge
get to it later. We'll get
Very
to
big
it later.
bummer. But yes, so Sora, what the reason why he's there is because he is trying to awaken Roxas in his heart. So he goes to Twilight Town where he has the picture of Hayner Pensinolet with Roxas from the intro of Kingdom Hearts 2, and he goes to the mansion to have Pence try to access the computer that Ansem the Wise, I guess, was
the
working
data
on.
world.
The
The
data
data
he's try-
world.
Yeah, he's trying to get
Yeah.
the data world.
The data world, right, where they can try to find Roxas, right? That's
Yes.
about and I guess they leave the world with Ienzo being like, try to help you.
Yeah, because
Kinda.
the world, the digital world, it's locked out or something like that. So
Yes.
something
Yeah.
about that. I don't know. The whole explanation was very hand wavy.
Also, hold on. Let's not forget that you meet Little Chef
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
in Twilight Town,
Oh, so cute.
aka Remy. Can we call him Remy, not Little Chef?
Well, to be fair, he never says his name, so
Yeah, he doesn't, but we know who he is because it's a Disney movie, so we're supposed to know.
man, but so cute
Sora
when he's
doesn't
like-
know, therefore you don't know.
Where he's like controlling Sora by pulling on his
Yeah.
hair. So cute.
Yeah, and that was
Yeah.
a joke that I made, was just sort of like, if Xehanort really wanted to control Sora, all you got to do is Nort Remy. Get Remy to control Sora. End.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah, that would
There-
be the easiest way to do it.
There was another joke I saw on Twitter earlier today, like literally today, which was along the lines of Xehanort's just bald because he doesn't want Remy to control him.
That's good.
It's a thought. It's not a
That's a
bad
good one.
thought. But yeah, that's the backtracking for Twilight Town because that's literally
Yeah.
all you do.
So Twilight Town's out of the way. So after Toy Box, we're gonna go to where Rob
Corona.
wanted to go. And where is that again, Rob?
That's Corona.
You mean the kingdom of Corona?
A Kingdom
Get
of
it right.
Corona. Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, really, the Kingdom of Corona, from what I can understand of it, is more or less Tangled the movie. No, I never saw the movie, but it pretty much
I
went
didn't
through
see
a
the
lot of the
movie.
plot
I
points.
never saw the movie either, but I mean, from what I can gather, it's likely just a very brief retelling of what happens in that movie.
But I thought Rapunzel was very adorable. I like that a lot, actually. Just interacting with her. Like the first time you get her out of the tower, she runs around all over the place, and she's just sort of like, "My mother's gonna kill me. I'm the worst."
But
daughter
I
in the
love
world."
I'm loving everything about. Oh my God, I'm the
Yeah.
worst daughter in the world.
Yeah.
I
ain't-
think I liked that world the most or second most
Oh
out
yeah.
of all of them. Like the part when you slide all the way down like
The
garden
flowers, like
part.
that was beautiful.
ugh, it's so
And then you
good.
have
Well-
like the festival where you're like, dancing around and all
dancing.
that too.
I'm all right. Well,
Ugh.
I'm just gonna say this is one of my least favorite worlds.
Oh,
Wow.
interesting.
Yeah, that's fair, that's
in
fine.
the game because it just seemed like, especially as immediately after Rapunzel comes out of the tower, you progress down a linear pathway, and then you stop, and she talks about, oh, the water, and then you go a little bit further, look at the flowers, and then you go down a little more, and it stops
Well, that's
again, and
all
it
for the sake of interacting with such a character.
right, and
Um,
I get that, but
it
you didn't
doesn't
need to.
jive.
You don't need to stop the progress for a tiny cutscene of that. If you
If
ask
you
me,
want, I mean, also you
I
could have just skipped. You could have just ran past it when she starts commenting on it too. The reason those were there also is like if you do them all, you get an extra prize or something like that. If I recall, I think you get an AP boost or something.
yeah, I
If
mean,
you if you
I
interacted with it all three
definitely,
times.
I mean, I did that, and I did get the AP boost. But it's like, but I mean, I did like the festival with the dancing and all that. I did enjoy that.
That
But
was extremely whimsical, and I loved it.
Yeah, I was like I see where you're coming from, Mark. Like I see it not being for everyone, especially if they're trying to like get through it. But for me, as someone that like really appreciates knowing these characters a little more and seeing how they, how us as a character interact with them, I thought it was like really adorable and cute. And I think a lot of that world was a lot of that, and I like
that's
that a lot.
fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I think
But I
I'm
mean
more
that's
on
really
Rob's
that
side
in a
on this
nutshell
one.
because he encounters which form of Xehanort does he encounter? Does he encounter young Xehanort again? I forget. I think so. No,
But
no, he encounters someone from the
Corona?
organization. He encounters
yes,
Marluxia.
yes,
Marluxia.
he encounters probably my favorite member of the organization, Marluxia,
Right.
Yeah,
along the
Marluxia's
way.
cool. Marluxia's very cool nobody.
Yes, and
He is.
and Marluxia shows up along on your way to getting to the, to the town, and he's like, "Listen, just leave Rapunzel alone. Don't don't have anything to do with her. Just leave her alone. She's one of the hearts of light.
The new princesses of heart.
One
Yeah.
of one of the new seven." He's like, just let it go. Don't interact. And
Let it go.
of course, Sora can't. So you keep going, but you have a fight with. I just got to say, I love Marluxia's nobodies. Those are
Oh
very
yeah.
very cool.
Those are some well designed enemies for what they are. Agree. Um, yeah.
But yeah,
So that
then you end up in the town. You dance a little bit. You get to watch the lanterns.
yep. Very pretty
Rapunzel's
scene.
mom. Rapunzel's mom shows up and she's like, "Oh, you know Rapunzel," and then she finds Rapunzel and brings her back to the tower, and then you know,
And
Yeah,
then
basically your Rapunzel story.
you fight a big
Giant tree.
Heartless by the tower.
yeah. So Marluxia shows up and turns the mother's cloak, or I thought it was the mother, but apparently it's the cloak. Turns the cloak into a giant heartless, which is just a tree.
Yep. There's not much to say about that boss fight, really.
Nope.
There's
Other
nothing,
than
nothing unique about it, really. It's just
you're
big.
in a gigantic arena. It's very easy to avoid, and I beat it on the first shot.
Yeah, that's about it. Very unceremonious.
Yeah. And then you're done. That's really all there is to it. I think the only thing I have to say left about Corona is the Keyblade you get from it, which was the first Keyblade I got, and it's the Keyblade I kept for the entire game because
Yes,
really,
it
the
is
ever
a
after.
strong. It's a strong as hell magic one. Like
I will say I did keep that equipped as one of my 3 slots for I think the entirety of the game.
yep.
I did.
it
I
is
went
pretty
the I
good.
went the strength way.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, even depending on even with your stats, the what do you call it? The crap. What are they called again? Limit change. What do you call them?
Oh, form change.
change.
The form change. The form change that you get once you bring the bar up is very good at crowd control and multi-hit. Like you can make multiple copies of yourself by dodging, and then if you hold down X, every one of those copies shoots at a targeted enemy, which is surprisingly
Oh,
good.
that's really
Um,
cool. I
yeah.
didn't really use it at all, to be honest. So I didn't even see that.
You missed out.
Yeah,
But I mean, again,
it appears I did.
depending on your stat setup, that's fine. Like, again, I think you could you could get by with a lot of the strong keyblades as well. So, it's fine, neither here nor there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
But so then the world wraps up. The movie, I imagine, does where Rapunzel's hair gets cut off. Sorry, it's movie spoilers now, I guess.
Oh yeah, well,
Rapunzel's hair gets cut off. She loses her power, which means the mother or grandmother ages
grows. Oh
because she was
yeah.
using
Oh,
Rapunzel's hair to stay young forever.
yep.
And then essentially she and
What's his name?
Ryder, whatever his name is,
Flynn.
they live happily ever after. And it's
Yes.
really sweet. I
I
think
thought
that
it was
world was
nice.
really, really sweet.
I agree. I
Um,
think it was nice.
and
Again, maybe it's just because I never saw the movie that it really, hit home. I liked it a lot. Also, I like
Same, yeah,
brunettes.
and I
So,
think it following the movie plot means that the story is going to be strong, just generally.
right.
But yeah, so we move on now from there. We go to a new uh gummy ship open world. So we're unlocking two new worlds after this. I forget exactly what happened
Was
in
there a
between. I
cutscene
think this
between
may be
this?
when you get to use Riku on the um
Oh
Realm of
yeah, you
Darkness
visit the
shore.
Yes,
World
yes,
of Darkness. Uh-huh.
that sounds about right.
Now it's funny
Um
when you place the contrast because you're fighting one of those, those giant. I forgot the name of
You
them.
fight a heartless wave.
the Demon Tide.
The demon
Yeah.
tide again. Except Riku has no damn problem with it.
Or the
Yeah,
Demon
and
Tower? I forget.
yeah, and Riku is kind of OP. He's got
OPAF.
Yo,
he's
it was
all-
really fun to fight as him at first because you have all of the fully upgraded spells.
Yup, you got Kiraga,
Yeah.
Yep.
you got
It's
Firaga,
awesome.
And he
Thundaga.
hits hard. It's just sort of like you thought you'd have a problem with that one bar when you were fighting a Sora, but like Riku blasts through it easily. I'm
Yeah.
like, damn.
And it's
And
like,
you're
can
with
I play as
Mickey.
him for the rest of the game, please?
Yeah. Yeah, for real. For the two times you use him, they really made it to want to just play a lot more as him, but that's
Yeah, I
I
feel like
guess
I got robbed.
unfortunate. Yeah.
They couldn't
DLC
have added
maybe.
more of that, but again, I digress. That's for later.
Yeah, but
But yeah, that happens during the interlude. I think that is one of the fights. They were looking
Yeah,
for
so
Aqua.
you're
They don't
with
find Aqua.
yes, you're looking for Aqua as Riku and Mickey. You're on the shore in the
You
Realm of
don't
Darkness.
find
I
her.
believe maybe you meet Ansem the Wise there for a minute, if I
No,
recall.
that's the
correctly.
flashback of
Mm,
Aqua finding Ansem the Wise.
I think,
Oh yeah, I think.
but I do think that this is at the point though where Riku's old Keyblade is
Oh, yeah.
broken,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
Snapped.
and then you get the car key.
Yes.
Yeah, they're swallowed up because they get swallowed up by the Heartless
Demon
Tide.
Tide. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
So-
a fun tease because I was making a comment before about how the opening of Kingdom Hearts 3 shows Riku with his old Keyblade and you see it get destroyed.
Yeah.
Well, guess he's not using that Keyblade then. What was the point of showing it off in the
Yeah, that one
freaking
was
opening?
cooler if you ask me, unfortunately. But yeah, so I guess so it's kind of you're left in limbo where it's like you're still as Sora trying to get the power of waking, and now, Riku and Mickey are in danger. And I think that's all you get at this point. I'm having a hard time remembering. Do you
Yeah,
guys
no,
recall
there's
anything
not
else?
much else story wise that happens there. He does lose his Keyblade. He has to go back to the tower and regroup. That's why he gets the car Keyblade before he goes back down again.
Yes, you're
Mhm.
right.
Yeah.
You're right.
But again, that
Cool.
happens later. The point is, after
Do-
that, you unlock a new set of worlds.
Yes.
Wait, hold on. When do Kyrie and Lee get their clothes? Is it then, or is it at the very beginning?
The clothes? You mean when did they change?
No, when are they given suitcases from Yensid? Is it? I thought it was then.
No, but because I believe it's at the same time Sora gets his new clothes, right?
Yeah.
Unless
Well, the thing is, they already change into their new clothes at some point
Okay.
after the first time you see them. You see them once, and I think the first time you see them, they're still in their old clothes, which is actually probably right after that cutscene. Now that I think about it, and it's all about Lee and Kyrie training together.
Yay!
Yay!
yeah,
They're-
which
they're
they
Keyblade
had
masters
one
now.
scene together where they're like,
They're sitting by a forest,
Lee keeps
and-
staring at her.
and Lee is staring at her, and she's like, "What?" And he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you just reminded me of someone." And she's like, "Oh, you could tell me." And he's like, "Yeah, but
No.
I'm not gonna. But
Did
I'm just
anyone-
gonna sit here." I'm gonna sit here and be a little weird about it.
Stare at you anyway. And does that not count as flirting? I'm just like under
Mm,
any
It
other
felt a little
objective.
flirtatious, a little bit, but it's um, it's weird, right? Because I think he asks Kyrie to call him Axel,
Yes.
even though he's Lee, which is a little. It got me a little annoyed because I'm like, no, you have to be like, you can't be a different name if you're not the heartless.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or the
Well, but
nobody
the
rather.
idea was his identity as Axel is tied to his memories with being with Shion and being with Roxas. Like
Right.
he was Axel at the time, so in order
Right,
to
like he's
keep his-
more Axel than Lee. But it
Yeah.
just made me feel
Yeah.
like oh man, this is confusing.
Yeah, cause she's like, "Oh, aren't you gonna change into your new clothes?" And he's like, no, this is kind of my look." And it was just like, "Come on, man."
I mean, also the point I think from the narrative standpoint is that him being he's the traitor of the organization. I mean, his role started off as being a guy that dealt with traitors in Chain of Memories, and then he went and did a 180. So his character, like his character as a narrative, is basically he's the one that betrayed the organization. That's why he's still wearing the organization's clothes. I think that's part of the reason why they kept him looking like that for most
Gotcha.
of the game.
Yeah.
I think that was the narrative purpose of it anyway.
But anyway, after a series of cutscenes, you're given your next choice of two worlds to go to. And you could either go to Monstropolis, or you can go to Arendelle. And also with this, you notice your first like big spike in what I would consider difficulty. Air
Mhm.
Because Kingdom of Corona's recommended level was 14, and then Monstropolis's recommended level I think is 22. But at this point, I was only like level 17
Yes.
when I was getting into Monstropolis, and I landed into Monstropolis, and I got my ass handed to me in the first mob fight.
Yeah, same here.
Because and this is the first time where you meet the unversed, and I think it's
Yes.
the last time you really meet the unversed, except for at the very end. But
Yeah.
I got my ass beat by those gigantic toads.
Those things take
Yeah,
a lot
those
of
things were
hits.
annoying, man. It was
That
cool to
and-
see the unversed though.
Yes.
Make an appearance.
I
Of
agree.
course,
I agree with
of
that.
course, the unversed were there. I think so. I think we should just kind of get into just the actual Kingdom Hearts story part of all the worlds. Otherwise, we're doing this for like.
We'll be
12
here
Be
all
here
fucking
forever.
day.
Yeah, we're at
But-
like an hour 20 right now. But
Yeah,
I mean,
I
we
think
are.
we
I mean, the
tried.
thing is, we are starting to get there at this point. Because when you bring up the unversed, it probably gives away who the guy that shows up there is, considering
Yep.
that the unversed is very closely linked to crap. What's his name?
Vanitas.
Vanitas.
Also, we should say, just backtrack really quick. Zigbar shows up during Olympus,
Yes.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
true.
and Marluxia shows up in Corona, and as we said, young Xehanort
in Toy
shows up
Story.
in the toy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, just another quick note. I believe in Olympus when Zigbar shows up, he's very briefly overlapping with the Maleficent black box storyline.
Yes.
Yes.
They're like both referring to the black box, which is
Yes.
of course comes into play much later. But
Mhm.
yeah, back to Monstropolis.
Like, yeah, at that point,
character-
yeah, you find out that it's Vanitas. I mean, you go through the entire the monster world to figure that out.
Yeah.
You don't even
And
fight
he-
him though.
No, he's there. He's looking for a source of darkness. And he wants to pick up, I guess, a tube of leftover scares, because Monsters Inc. used to be in the business of scares. Now they're in the businesses of laughs. But I guess they have some leftover stuff. So he teams up with that asshole Randall
Right.
to try and get it.
Yeah. The point is they don't succeed. I mean, like,
Nope.
that's the whole
And
point.
in fact, my man Sully kicks the shit out of Vanitas.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was funny. I was gonna say, just I'll take a moment to appreciate that Sully goes and jump scares one of the most powerful Keyblade wielders that we fight in Birth by Sleep, and yeets him through like 3 different doors.
And you know what? That I think was one of the again that's another instance of this game pulling off something very cute, where they throw him through a door, they take that door, throw it into
through
another
another
door,
door.
take
Yeah.
that door, throw it through another door, and then they shred the final door.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, that was
hilarious.
really
I thought that
funny.
was great.
Yeah, that was good. I loved the designs of Sora, Donald, and Goofy in this.
And they looked like
you
monsters.
you rode a lot of rails, which apparently you guys find
Had a
controversial.
lot
Oh
of
no, I
problems
thought the
with
rails
those
were a little
rails.
more tolerable here in Monsters Inc. than they were in Olympus for some reason. I don't know what was different. Maybe it was because it's a different Keyblade that I was using, but I had an easier time with the freaking rails this time around. I'm not sure what made the difference. I don't know. I digress.
So the final boss in here was what again?
That was
Was it
the giant
blob of
like
darkness.
ba-
Yeah.
ball of ooze with that spawned hands through the floor.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yep. The tentacle things. Yes.
It had an impermeable, impermeable phase at one point. something like
Yeah,
that.
I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of this boss fight. I
Yeah, I
thought
didn't care
was,
much for it either, to be honest with you.
it,
It was
it,
just a
it,
I
bunch of
remember
hands.
liking this one.
it seemed to drag on a little long for
Hmm.
me. I really abused the the uh the ever after form change
Oh
during
yeah.
this fight. Just because I was like, I'm keeping a distance and I'm just fighting. I want to get rid of this guy like right now,
Yeah.
Agree.
because I was at the point with that world where I was like, oh my god, dragging on.
Yeah, I did dream. It did run a bit long.
Yeah.
Though I will say I am glad we didn't get a rehashed story of Monsters Inc. in this world. It was
Yeah,
it was pretty much original.
yeah. It felt like a sequel. That and Toy Story, they all felt like, compared to all the other worlds, like those two in particular felt like they could have been treated as sequels within their own universes.
Yep.
Because they are completely unrelated to any link of any of the previous movies, which was nice. I appreciated that.
Yeah. Was there any more story important things that happened in this world?
No,
That's pretty much it.
that's
So yeah, that's Monsters Inc. What happened after Monsters Inc? The other one
Af-
was
Arendelle.
Monsters Inc.
Arendelle.
was
Oh,
Arendelle, and
I'd say this one was probably one of the most disappointing worlds because
yeah,
there was some really really good parts in it, but I think you guys agree it was
like
just
90% of it
really
was just.
one-dimensional.
Oh
it
yeah.
it dragged on for a lot longer than it needed to. You had to get to the ice castle
But
three
you kept
times.
getting knocked down. Like that's
three
it.
Yes.
three times, and you get knocked all the way down the mountain, and you have to climb all the way back up.
Yeah.
And that
Like
was
that's
very
not fun.
annoying.
That's literally just keeping you there for the sake of keeping you there.
Like that, like I appreciate that we got to see them sing "Let It Go" because it was
Yeah,
was
that
good.
cool.
and it was nice hearing that. Like they got all the hits from that movie. They had
Yeah.
that. They had "Do You Want to Build a
Build a
Snowman?"
Snowman,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
And
That's
dude,
great.
okay, sorry, the elk companion thing was animated so perfectly. That thing was so expressive and cute. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Oh
yeah,
man,
the
they
elk.
got those characters. I felt they did those characters very well,
It did them well. Agree.
but the scenery was just the same.
It was very bland. You had to climb up a rock face several times. You had the whole like ice labyrinth, which was probably the best part of that world. Quite
Did you guys
honestly,
feel like that felt like it was ripped straight out of Kingdom Hearts 2 or Kingdom Hearts 1? Like that to me was like the level design that felt the most like the old games
Felt
because
classic,
it was like
right? In terms of what it
Yeah.
was trying to accomplish. Yeah, I
what
see where
the
you're coming
the
from on that.
the labyrinth.
yeah, like it was like a labyrinth setting. It was like a little bit of a puzzle setting, and you
Yeah.
had winding corridors, but they were not, it was like all kind of, there was nothing really that sorry, visually stunning about it, but it had
Yeah.
like cool level design.
Well, I'll say it probably reminded me most of the Underworld from
Yeah,
Kingdom
Yeah,
Hearts
something
2.
like that.
so like that. I
You
can see
know,
that.
but before you get to the Ice Labyrinth, you get to meet another member of the organization.
My
Yeah, you get
girl.
And
Larxene. That was
you
good.
get Larxene, and she is great because she's very sassy.
Very
Yeah, she's got a lot of
saucy and
attitude.
She's got so much sass, and this we get our second mention of the new 7 princesses, and that's
like
about
maybe
it.
she's light, maybe she's
Yeah,
darkness. Who knows?
yeah,
That's
because
that's pretty much
you
talking
know,
in riddles.
because Elsa's part of the time she's very nice. The other time she turns into a monster. But that
Yeah.
I mean, I I don't really have much to say about this world because what can really be said about it? The snowboarding down the mountain, I guess, was kind of
Yeah,
cool.
that was the only unique bit to this
I did
world.
like that a bunch.
But that boss fight was pretty
You weren't
lame.
even in the
Yeah.
world. It put you in
Some big
just a
giant
dark
stadium.
plain, basically.
Yeah, it
and you
felt like
fought
you were
this-
in the it felt like you were in the land of darkness.
Yeah.
Again,
And
not unique. I mean,
and
yeah, I was just
and it's gonna be a trend for the rest of these Disney worlds, but it left me being, okay, it is what it is.
Yep.
So that was really all there was to that. It's probably because Frozen is their like probably prized IP at the moment, and they didn't want anything to taint
Yeah,
it.
I assume a lot of it was IP problems. Like they were told you can't do this to the world. You can't have
Yeah.
the characters do that.
Well,
You know.
I will just say though that maybe it shouldn't have been a world then.
Well,
Yeah.
no, they can't do that because they wanted to be able to promote Frozen
Yeah,
2.
cross
Isn't that right?
promotion.
It was all meant to be a promotion. Har
But-
har
Which
har.
that's sad when we think about it that way, but it's probably true.
Probably
but,
true. I know it's sad,
You know,
but
because the trailer for Frozen 2 came out literally like 3 weeks after
the release of Kingdom
the-
Hearts
the-
2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
S-
I'm
So
kind of drawing a blank on what happens after Arendelle.
so
Uh,
yes, well now you're going between Arendelle and the final 2 Disney World.
I think the
Uh,
cutscene that
this I
happens in
believe-
between. Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
wait,
Oh,
don't
I was
they
gonna say,
tell
I
you-
believe this is where Vexen's story happens a bit. Am I
A
right?
bit. Yeah, like this is where he first appears because that's what the Caribbean world is all about.
Right. Wait, so hold on. When do they say, "Hey, maybe you should go back to Twilight Town and talk to
Oh, yeah.
Merlin"?
That's
that
after the
happened-
I
first
think it's
2.
there.
That's after the
that's
first
after the
2.
first 2.
Yeah.
And the
Alright,
100-acre
you know what?
woods.
We're not going to talk about that because that's irrelevant.
We're really quickly 100-acre woods mini games. You complete like 3 mini games. They're fun. They're
They're
cute.
all this, but they're all the same mini game.
Yeah, you get a keyblade and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty much.
I'm glad
sorry,
I didn't
Winnie
miss
the
anything.
Sorry, Winnie the Pooh, but get a better world.
They never do though. It's always mini
You
games
know,
with them. But I
yeah.
digress. I digress.
But okay, yeah. So I think this is the reunion of the organization at the Keyblade Graveyard.
Yes, that's what.
Ah,
That's
yes.
most
And-
likely it. Uh-huh.
So they show up. Vexen's there. Demix is there. Larxene shows up. Larxene calls Demix basically a loser.
and,
and
it's like
that
you guys want to do another coup?
He
Some
like
sort of
he's
like-
he's that Demix is just there to ride the bench again. Vexen talks a little bit. Marluxia shows up.
Xemnas shows up.
Luxord shows up too. And they're just like, "Oh, we're just a bunch of husks for Xehanort." And then Xemnas shows up and he's like, "No, you guys will know soon why you're here with your past in the Keyblade War." And then it fades out.
Yo, real quick, Xemnas' voice actor, ace, on point.
Very good.
So
good.
that like deep evil voice, he nailed it.
Yeah,
And-
of course. He's got that going.
And so they, you get to see Demix, which is cool because you haven't seen Demix yet, and Demix is just like, yeah, whatever. Vexen, aka Evan, is there. I think he's talking about replicas, probably
Yeah,
because that's all he cares about. Luxord is there. He says some stuff. It's not really important, really. Marluxia says his thing. Larxene wants to start another coup. But they
Yeah.
throw out the concept of these people are here, or not these people, these members are here for a specific reason relating back to the Keyblade War, and you're just like, oh shit, here comes the plot,
It's
and
like,
then
nope. Hard
and
nope.
then it fades to darkness, and they're like, okay, we got to go find the next world.
Question. Stop me if this doesn't happen at this point, but what I thought happened here is at Twilight when Hainer Pensino let sneak up on Xehanort, Xemnas, and
Ansem the Wise.
River of Darkness.
No,
yeah,
because
and they're like
Vexen.
confronting Ansem the Wise, I believe. And
Yeah,
they try to distract him, and they get saved by Evan, right?
Yeah.
that's because,
does that
but
happen
that
here?
doesn't. That happens in between the next two worlds because they first have to show Vexen being a dick in the Pirates of the Caribbean world first.
Okay, I skipped ahead a bit. Might be.
But
Spoiler
I mean, you know.
alert.
Well,
Oh,
then
wait,
let's get to it then.
yeah.
Let's get to the next world.
So now there's two more worlds. There's Pirates of the Caribbean,
Mhm.
Big
and
Hero 6.
there's San Francisco. The first one you go to, though, by level order, would be Pirates of the Caribbean. And boy, let me tell you, fuck this world.
That word, it sucks. Pirates
So-
sucks.
So this is another instance of this world, though, or of a world where you're really just getting movie scenes all over again with Sora, Donald, and Goofy just hanging around.
Well, even
Pretty-
worse than that, they try to introduce something that seems unique, but in the end is only equivalent to, hey, let's collect a bunch of things so we can move the story.
Yeah. So
That-
This
was
one
not
starts
fun.
off. This one starts off with a bunch of not fun encounters.
oh my god. So it's the first encounter. That's the underwater encounter, isn't it?
No, it's
Or
No.
it's the
when
flying.
you're chasing. No, you're chasing.
You're chasing the
boat that's
ship.
on ground.
Yeah,
Remember?
Right.
boat-
Okay. Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like that, to begin like that was just sort of like, wow, this is not cool. And then you
Yeah.
get to the part where you're, kamikazing on a flying Heartless. I'm like,
Yeah.
what
on a
does this have to
flying-
do with Pirates of the
Dude.
Caribbean?
This was probably the worst encounter in this game. I died a lot on it, and I was like, this is actually stupid.
It makes no sense. It
Yes,
has
because
no,
you can't
like,
use any of your actual abilities.
But
on-
like you can jump. So here's the thing: you have to jump off of the Heartless that you're on. You can pop a cure spell, and then you have to shot step back onto another Heartless to keep doing damage to the flying thing.
yeah.
Yep.
And that shit's bullshit. Eventually you get past it, but guess what? Now you're in an underwater section of the map, and boy, if you hated Atlantica, this is only slightly.
This sucks because you cannot use your normal Keyblade abilities, and
Yeah.
Yup.
I think they just straight up borked the combat in the underwater
Yeah,
section.
I mean every Keyblade acts the same. There's no uniqueness underwater. Your combos are gonna do the same exact things.
yeah.
and it's
Yeah,
not-
but
it's-
but you get to use C Blizzaga and C Thundaga.
yeah, because that makes sense. You can cast fire underwater. Explain that
Yeah.
to me, game. Explain that to me. Explain how
And
you
you
create
can't-
fire underwater, game.
If Sora is not a Keyblade master, how is he fucking casting fire underwater? It doesn't make
You can't
sense.
do your dodge rolls. Obviously, you can't do like midair recovery thing.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
just a lot of tech you can't do. It just really dumbs it down.
Like,
and
and
that's
it's not even really
fun.
difficult. I mean, the thing is, like, that's something I would call like fake difficulty. It's like you're making
Yeah.
it harder than it has to be just because they're underwater. It's like it
And
doesn't
then-
add anything.
This is the point of the world where Mark was able to tell me that, guess what? The rest of the world is underwater, and I was fuming for a second until I found out that you got to drive a boat around, and
Yeah.
and this is the only redeeming quality of this world, in my opinion.
Yeah, they learned at least from Atlantica that the entire world being underwater is not going to go well with people. So they made it really that one section, but yes, the
But that's
real
one
like
section too many that needs to be underwater.
oh yes, agreed. It's not fun at all. But yeah, the best part of this world is the ship combat. You get control when you're going underwater. You find a ship that you then pilot as or captain as Sora. But then you have this big open world with lots of little islands everywhere, and then you can just do like ship combat, and you can level up the ship separately from Sora, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You have like ship abilities, ship situation commands, and stuff. Um, but really, if you're mainlining the world, you're basically just going to one place, jumping off the boat, collecting 300 crabs,
Yeah,
going on the boat, doing a boss fight, and then you're
you
done.
you actually end up back in Port Royal, which is nice, and there's actually people roaming around Port Royal, which is also nice.
It also looks beautiful.
It looks
Yeah.
really nice. But you know why they send you here to find white crabs. Why do you need white crabs, you may ask? Because white crabs power the ship that you're driving.
Yep.
If you think that makes no sense, you're absolutely fucking right. It doesn't make any sense. But all the while, there is some plot going on because Luxord shows up in this world, and he's also looking for a black box. So this is only the second time in
well,
about
Luxord and Vexen.
Well, Vexen shows up later, but Vexen isn't really there for the same reason. But Luxord is looking for a black box, and Jack Sparrow is looking for a black box. Not the same black box, because Jack Sparrow's looking for the box that contains
The heart of Davy Jones.
the heart of David Jones. And Luxord is looking for the black box that Maleficent and Pete are also looking for.
But they don't know what it looks
supposedly.
like. He thinks
Supposedly.
that they're the same box. I mean,
Exactly.
Yeah,
So-
at this point, yeah, they could be the same. We don't know any better.
mhm.
Right. So they're looking for a box. Earlier in Arendelle, Larxene tells Sora that they're looking for hope. I think.
Yeah, they said that the contents of the box were
the
hope.
content. Yeah, the
Like, how do they
contents of
know
the
that?
box
Like, you know.
is hope, but it's like, how does Larxene know that when she's an outcast within the organization already? Who knows? Because you're doing some ship combat in Pirates of the Caribbean, and
Well,
the
the ship
boss fight.
combat.
the boss fight all takes place on the ship. It's cool.
I thought that
and
was
then
boring. I thought that was very boring.
I died a lot during the like big ship fight right before you fight Davy Jones.
Oh, you died, or was it because the
No,
Black Pearl
I-
took too much damage?
No. I didn't die during that ship fight. I died in the ship fight before that.
Oh yeah,
the
that
one
one.
against
Okay,
Luxord.
yeah, that
Yeah.
one. Okay, I can see
So-
that.
So the fight against the Davy Jones ship,
Yeah.
I had no problem with.
I liked the Davy Jones fight when you're fighting the Davy Jones person.
Yeah, when you fight
With-
actual
yeah.
Davy Jones, this is the only instance in the Disney worlds where you're not fighting generic heart.
yeah.
Yeah, like that was an actual good boss fight because that felt like it was, an actual boss.
Yeah,
that
and he
was
summoned
unique.
the Kraken on you.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. I like
Okay, so-
that reminded me of older Kingdom Hearts boss fights.
Yeah.
Like
So-
I'll
so-
agree, that's probably one of the few good things about that world that had going for it. At least the boss
Yeah,
fight was unique.
And, now that I think about it, that's the second redeeming quality of this world.
Yeah.
But like after you fight Davy Jones, you're and this is just really the entire Pirates of the Caribbean world. Every cutscene except for the ones with Luxord and Evan are just
Movie.
like movie scenes. And
Yeah.
as someone who really doesn't particularly have any interest in Pirates of the Caribbean, I could not have cared any less. I really wish I would have skipped those cutscenes, but I didn't out of sheer willpower that I had to watch every cutscene in the game.
Of course. I mean, like, in case you miss something, which
Ex-
ultimately you don't
exactly.
really.
Which I didn't end up missing anything,
Although I
But
think one of the good cutscenes was when Jack and Luxord interact. Luxord tries to take the heart back by calling Parley. He's like, no, no, you don't get to Parley.
Yeah.
And then he
yeah,
breathes in his face and he falls off the ship.
and he's just like,
Yeah.
oh god.
And this is where they learn that Davy Jones's heart is not what they're looking for.
yeah, pretty much. But
Uh,
yeah, that's pretty much that world in a nutshell.
yeah. So now we get to the final Disney World, and
Oh wait, just going back to Pirates real quick. The one movie cutscene, which already was a great travesty on Pirates, was the fact that it ends with that admiral getting his ass handed to him by having a ship get destroyed. But they don't have the part with the ship getting destroyed, and it's just sort of like, how do you not have that part? That's the part that's memed the most on the internet. But I digress. Okay, but yeah, Big Hero 6.
so you get to San Francisco, and spawning into this world is pretty cool because you're on the Golden Gate and Great Wall Bridge, whatever you want to call it. It's fucking cool,
Super cool.
super
Yes.
cool.
And then the
Uh,
combat you get to fight while you're on there, you get like, you get the, time slowdown, while you're sliding to shoot at things. Kind of like
Yeah,
a first-person shooter.
and that's very very neat and everything. But like every other world, you spawn in and you fight a large group of Heartless, and they're like, "What are those things?" Oh, they're the Heartless, and it's like, okay, here we go again.
Order!
Yep.
Yeah.
Sora, you gotta be careful not to disturb the order. Gosh.
Yup.
But and inevitably you end up meeting Baymax and what's it? The kid's name is Hero,
Hero.
right?
Hero.
And you join forces and you end up back at Hero's Garage, which has a slapping tune as
Oh,
Mark.
like one of the best songs.
Literally, yeah, like one of the only songs
So good.
that really like sticks out as being, above average if you ask me.
So
We'll
far,
get,
yeah.
we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
But you roam around San Francisco, you fight a bunch of stuff, and then you have to track down the
Dark
what
cubes.
is it? The dark cubes.
Dark cubes, yeah.
Right.
And
So
then
you track down,
twist.
you track down the dark cubes, and then we meet a very familiar face.
Mm-hmm.
Who
Or
would
is
that
it?
be? Who would that be?
That would be Riku, but not just any Riku. It's the Riku that you remember from Kingdom Hearts 1 being consumed by darkness. This was like in between him taking on the likeness of Ansem, Seeker of Darkness, but after he was like Riku in his, Destiny Islands clothes. So he's wearing that like heartless gear, and he's got the cool. Or wait, hold on. Is he wearing a robe yet? Is he wearing
wearing
just
a
a
robe.
robe in this one?
This is Organization Riku.
Oh yes, he's wearing
Yeah.
a robe. That's my bad. Yeah, but it is Riku. Someone else take over so I don't mess it up.
So he shows up and he pulls out this chip and he's like, I'm gonna, we're looking for a heart, something or other. And then he throws the chip into the dark cubes, and there's a really lame fight against the dark cubes.
I mean, I guess that boss fight is unique because it's not a typical Heartless.
It's not a
maybe.
typical Heartless. You're absolutely right about that.
It is
but
dull, though. I do
Not
see
not
that.
a very stimulating fight. It's a lot of avoid, go to town, avoid,
Yeah.
go to town.
And then the
after that-
final boss fight is a fight against.
and they foreshadow it earlier in the world. They're like, oh, this is the second Baymax,
Right.
There
first
was an
Baymax
original
lost.
Baymax before, yeah.
And then Organization Riku brings back the first Baymax, enhances him with the dark cubes, and puts this malicious chip in him, and you fight him in an epic flight around San Francisco, which it was all right.
And I believe in that little scene with Riku, again, I might not be remembering exactly right, but I believe is when he kind of uses the Baymax thing as like a little bit of a metaphor for how the replicas work, because this Riku is a replica.
Yes.
And so, like, the way that he's explaining that a replica is, it can basically be an entire person, uh, essentially, and then you know constructed out of data and whatever. And then he like kind of applies that sort of to the Baymax thing, where it's the old Baymax, but he's got this like chip which is the heart of Baymax. And
Yep.
then it's programmed differently, of course, so that he wants to fight you, and then you have to
Yeah.
take down Baymax 1 with Baymax 2.
Yep. And you successfully do that, in case you were
Yeah.
wondering.
And then and then you go bye bye.
And then
Yeah.
and
You
then
know, I have to say, I thought this world was great. I
I
thought
agree.
Oh,
I thought
yeah.
Big Hero 6 characters were really fun. I thought this one was like one of the better worlds in the game.
Agreed.
Yeah, so
Strongly agree.
so but before we get any further, can we rank the Disney worlds right
Okay.
now? Can we get
Right
a
now?
definitive ranking?
Yeah.
Let's not go in depth, but let's get that ranking. Get that ranking.
Like, just off the top of my head, I have to say I could see at least the first three would be Big Hero 6, Corona, and then third would probably be
Monstropolis
Toy
for me.
Story or Monsters Inc.
I would
think about
I
that
would
one.
say it's got to be Big Hero, Toy Box, and Monstropolis have to be the top three. In my opinion, I would say those are my top three. I didn't very much care for Pirates, Arendelle, or Kingdom of Corona, but
Mark C.
See, I would put Corona in my top 3, but then that would like basically whatever is not in my toy box would be 4, and then 5 and 6 would be Arendelle Arendelle might be last for me actually.
I can see that. Can we all just
Pirates?
agree Arendelle and
Pirates.
Pirates were just the worst?
The bottom 2.
Yeah.
I'd say
Yeah.
like 3. Hold on, what was number 2? Or no, I guess I don't know. 2, 3, and 4 are tough, but I'd put Big Hero 6 first.
I
yeah,
can see that. And I can agree with that too.
And I think I'd be okay with any combination of 2, 3 with it. Because I thought those were all kind of on par with each other. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah.
I can see that. But yeah, okay. I mean, those are the 6 worlds, and that's really all the Disney worlds that are there. Because at this point, this is where the game actually becomes interesting. At this point,
Yeah.
this is like what 15, 20 hours in, and this is where the game actually starts to get interesting.
yeah, and it's crazy. I think I was at like 20 hours at this point, and now you start to get actual plot.
Like, this is the part where you get
Yeah.
to Vexen, you see Vexen and he's like, wait a minute, I'm not actually part of the organization, I actually want to repent for my sins,
I think what happens soonest after this in terms of like gameplay is probably my favorite gameplay part of the whole game, which is when you're doing when you're in the realm of darkness as Riku and Mickey, and you fight Aqua, and then you fight Aqua as Sora,
Right.
and
So
then you go to land departure. No,
Well,
Yeah, well, let's slow down a bit.
well,
because I
okay. So
think
let's
those
let's. So Riku and Mickey are fighting Aqua and another wave of Heartless, and Mickey gets overtaken. Riku is very out of breath, and then out of nowhere,
Sora.
Sora comes shooting in from the sky, and then you fight Aqua as Sora.
And that's just a
That's
really
one of my
intense boss
favorite
fight
bosses.
because I don't
And-
want to fight her.
and this was the first point where I was like, wow, this game is getting wild now. And you fight Aqua. Not really a very difficult fight. Like I told you guys at one point, the pirate ship. They give you the pirate ship, and you just
Yeah, they give you the pirate
and-
chief. That just gimps the entire dramaticism of that
like
fight.
she gets knocked up into the air, literally the entirety of that attraction move, and it's just like, well, that kind of takes a lot of the
The oomph
severity
away.
out
Yeah.
of this.
I thought that was like a really great atmosphere that they set up for that boss fight. They
Yeah, because they
had
have Aqua,
there was like character conflict in that we don't really see in the rest of the game, where it's like Aqua's pissed and she's like, "You fucking left me here."
Yeah.
And she's
yeah.
like whispering in your ear, basically. If you're playing with headphones, it's like she's whispering in your ear while you're fighting her, and she's like, "Fuck you, you left me here." Of course, she's like kind of consumed by the darkness at this point. She's not really herself.
Yeah,
Well,
she
yeah.
got
You're like,
Norded.
damn, I feel bad, and I'm like also beating her up.
Yeah, that's exactly why I thought it was for me. I saw it as like a psychologically hard fight because it's like, well, now I'm just whooping the ass of this poor girl who's trapped here, not of her own fault, and can you
Yeah,
really blame her for
like,
ending up the way that she did?
she's already broken because she thinks she's been left here.
Yep.
And it was
Oof.
10 years, I believe, that she was in the realm of
Well,
darkness.
it's hard to tell with time. Time, like it
what
works
is time?
differently.
What is time, right?
You know what I mean? I mean, at 10 years of like realm of light time,
Realm of Light
because
time, yeah.
because Sora's like 16 in this, and Birth by Sleep takes place like 10 years
10 years
prior.
prior,
So
right.
yeah. So you can assume it's like the equivalent of 10 years time.
But then they do rescue her, and that made me very happy because she's like, when did Destiny Islands get eaten up by the darkness? It's like, no, you're in the world of light. And then they
Yeah.
cry, and it's like, I cry too.
And they go to they briefly go to the realm of light, because this is where Riku and young evil Riku like sit on Destiny Island.
Yeah,
and
and
talk
they
to
just
each other.
chill, and they're
Yeah.
like best friends.
Yeah, I thought that was like a cool moment. Also, like hearing the voices of they're different. They're voiced by different people.
Yeah, that would make sense. Wait, does that make sense? They are voiced by
could make
different people?
sense.
Oh,
Yeah.
I did not know that. Okay.
They have two different. I mean, it may be the same person, but they're two different voices. Like they're not supposed to be
yeah.
using the same voice.
For sure. Okay, that I can agree with at least.
I don't know if there's two different voice actors. I should look that up later.
But they use different
they're-
types of voices to voice. Well, yeah, you can clearly see the difference there. That's true.
Yeah.
I can see that. But yeah, so save Aqua, and then
Yeah,
the best
so
cutscene that came up right after that was Aqua
you
going.
finally awaken. You get your first notch in your belt, if you will. And then yeah, sorry, Rob, I talked over you.
No.
Keep
I mean,
going.
all I was
Keep
gonna
going.
say is after that, you end up going to Castle Oblivion, and she unlocks it and turns into the Land of Departure. And I actually think that was the best cutscene in the game.
Fucking awesome.
Now,
Dude, that was a
so
well-made
here's the thing.
cutscene.
Here's the setup. I just want to do a quick bit of setup, because I believe it's from like point 2 or something, or the like aqua focused thing after Birth by Sleep.
Yeah, it's
where
0.2.
she basically Ventus is locked away in Castle Oblivion.
Yep.
She like created it basically
Yeah.
to hide him, and so that's why in if you guys, I know you guys didn't play Chain of Memories, but the reason why in Chain of Memories Sora like loses his memories as he goes further into the castle is because that's like the defense mechanism for people to keep them away from Ventus, I believe. It's like
That
so
makes
no one can get
sense.
to him. They like slowly lose their memories by the time they reach wherever he is.
Like they won't even know why they went there in the first place. I
Yeah.
can see that. I can see that making
Which I thought
sense.
I learned that way later.
But yeah, I can see that. I can totally see that. It's all a protection mechanism, you know?
Mhm.
I can totally see that. But the whole point was to get back to Castle Oblivion / Land of Departure just so they can get to Ventus, so they can wake him up. And that's exactly...
And, this part is just, oof.
Yeah,
This
is
part,
Getting to
this part is
control
fucking
Aqua
so
was
good.
like 10 out of 10 because
Yeah, so
that was literally like BBS all over again.
So Vanitas, of course, has to show up, and he's like, "Oh man, that's my brother right there." And now it's time to,
we need to become and forge the Keyblade, you know.
join together again. So he goes over there, and then Aqua's like, "Nah, bitch." So you fight as Aqua, and you get the Spell Weaver.
It's just like Birth by Sleep.
Oh,
it's
Oh,
really like a good callback. I like that a lot. Like that was really good. It just lasts way too short. That's the only time you get to control Aqua too, which makes me really
Yeah.
sad.
This also was like one of the only true like one-on-one boss battles that were like the best parts of 1 and 2
Oh yeah,
where
1v1, not, and that wasn't up against a generic Heartless thing.
yeah,
Agree.
like yeah, like one-on-one like people fighting, like you think back to when in Kingdom Hearts 1 it's like Sora against Riku, and then in 2 it's Sora against Roxas when he has the two keyblades and you're like inside of Sora's heart
Inside
or
of the heart.
whatever.
Yep.
uh this felt like that for me. uh
Agree. If it
and it was
really does
such a
have that
great fight.
mood to it.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, after that
yeah.
the story, yeah, keep going.
This part of the game is what I wanted the rest of the game
To
to
be.
be.
I
You
agree.
know, but yeah. So you wake up Ventus, but they're still like, oh, but where's Terra, right? Ventus is a bit confused because he's been sleeping for fucking forever.
Oh yeah, and Sora figured out the art of waking.
Yep.
Whatever it is. I still don't know.
Oh,
I still
well,
don't know what it is.
all I know is it was in him all the time.
Yeah.
That's the plot device that they use. But they end up back at Master Yen Sid, and they finally have assembled their 7 Guardians of the Light.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
Lee and
they
Kyrie are here.
Lee and Kyrie are apparently able to use a Keyblade now.
They
We wouldn't
finally
know
made
anything.
it.
We wouldn't know anything about that because we only saw them once. They were hanging out and Axel was being weird. But it's Lee, Kyrie, Riku, Mickey, Sora, Aqua, and Ventus. Those are your 7 guardians.
Yep.
So now it's time to mobilize. Where do we go?
The only place
To
that you could
the
go, the Keyblade Graveyard.
KBGY,
The KBGY. That's right.
aka the Keyblade Graveyard.
But yeah, that in and of itself, I thought was actually a kind of annoying travel to get to because you're stuck originally in this maze. I'm just sort of like, I just
Oh,
wanna
the
fly
gummy-
there
the
and get
gummy
there.
mission?
Mission, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is really the only part of missions that I really didn't like, strictly because it felt like a Kingdom Hearts 1 gummy mission.
Yeah, I mean it's forced on you. I mean,
Like,
at least it's not like you're facing enemies, but
Yeah, well, no, you do have to fight a boss. You do have
Oh,
to
yeah,
fight
true.
a boss,
that's true.
which would be more a Kingdom Hearts 2 thing. But like, you're forced into this gummy mission. You have to follow a certain path, and then you fight a boss. Then you end up at the KBGY. And I mean, you get to this point, and you actually kind of feel super epic that you finally have gotten to this point. Even though
true.
you feel like you didn't get a lot of plot up until this point, but you did it, and now you're here.
It really just
Yes.
accelerates from there because, well, we can really start discussions now because everything that happens when you get to the Keyblade Graveyard is just sort of like a big Pandora's box of questions. Starting
Yeah.
with you getting there.
Ooh. Yeah, which one?
Um,
So okay.
You land, right? You fight a
you
bunch
do
of
a big
Heartless.
fight with a lot of Heartless when you land.
Yeah.
That's the least important part.
Yep.
Yeah, you would think that was more important, but no. The big part
Yeah,
is
so-
coming up, right?
You get there, and right, Xehanort meets you.
Yes.
Yep.
Xehanort meets you, and then the other 12 members show up, but they're all cloaked. You don't know who any of them are, apparently. And then I forget what happened.
Then you
So-
run up. Wait, go ahead, Mark with the C. You probably remember better than I do at this point.
Okay, so here's my recollection. Yes, you like kind of face Xehanort with his forms at his side because those are really just those are not really the actual Xemnas and Ansem Seeker of Darkness because we killed them in 1 and 2 and that's why Master Xehanort exists. So essentially, like, you're just setting up like, okay, we're here now with the big bad, right? Um, there's this huge battlefield of Heartless that you fight. You kill them, and then you run through this kind of crack in the mountain,
Yep.
and you get to the other side, and you're met on the other side
With
by
Terra.
Terra. Yes, Terra, but like Terra. He has brown hair. He looks like the Terra from BBS.
Yep.
You're with Ventus. He immediately
Ventus
gets like
dashes over
emotional,
there.
dashes over there. He's like, "Oh my god, you're here!" And Terra just like has no. He doesn't even look at him. He has no emotions.
Yep, blank
You
stare.
you realize something's up with him. Aqua
Aqua's
calls
like,
him out.
no.
She's like, "I don't think you're who you actually are." His hair turns white.
Woo!
Terra Xehanort. He's back. And then he kills you.
Well,
He literally kills
no,
you.
no. Stop. First of all, he kills Roxas. He kills Ventus ish. I guess you can say he kills him by knocking him with his Keyblade. But then Goofy and Donald retaliate, right?
Yeah.
Donald
and-
goes all Zeta
yes,
Flare.
Zeta Flare.
Oh my god.
Yo, that's the
I
one
loved
useful
it.
thing
That was
Donald did the
awesome.
whole game.
And doesn't Mickey say, Donald, no?
Goofy says it, but yeah.
Yeah, they're like, you can't do that, and he's like,
Yeah.
I'm doing it, and then
Zeta Flare.
and then he falls
Dies.
down. Oh,
I guess he's dead too, I guess. But then a giant storm of Heartless show up and then picks everyone
Here
else
we
up,
go
and
again.
apparently everyone else is
That's
dead.
right. Yeah. So
And then Sora becomes a wimp.
Sora starts crying. Riku runs to fight the giant wave, and he's like, "You don't believe that."
I know
And
you
then-
don't.
Yeah.
And then
He dies too. We
and
guess.
then he dies.
And
I
then
mean, you
Sora
all
gets
die,
swept
like,
up in it.
everyone
and then he dies.
Everyone dies.
And then the game gives you the black screen that says, "And then the world was consumed by darkness." And I was just
Yup.
sort of like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah.
Did anyone else do a "wait, what" moment there? Or was it just me?
They were like they yada yada'd over everything, and they're like, the world is now completely dark.
And then that's when we end up waking back up again, and it's just sort of like, you're in the final world. This is
And
the
it's-
afterlife. I'm just like,
so-
oh
so-
Yeah.
So this is the same world that you fight the giant Heartless in at the very beginning, but you're just like, what's going on? And you're like you're
A good
basically
ghost.
you're an outline of Sora.
Yep. And basically, yeah, you find Chirithy, which is that little,
the little thing from Kingdom Hearts,
Hearts X.
Union Cross.
Yep.
And
it's just sort of like, you're in pieces right now. You need to go
Yeah.
and collect yourself.
yeah,
And so just the important thing about this is, like, when people die, they go to the final world, but they're like a disembodied like spirit. But the fact that Sora still had his outline of his body and can like control himself means that there's something keeping him
yeah, he's got a foot.
slightly together.
Yeah, he's got a foot in both worlds, pretty
Yep.
much. So
Um,
Chirithy says you got to go find yourself.
and you do. Along the way, you do find these like little fragments of light. Did you guys talk to them?
Yes.
Talk to all of them.
Yeah,
Obi.
one of them is a mystery. There was this one girl that was saying, "Oh, there's this one person I knew, that is no longer the person I knew." No one, that one's a mystery. I don't know who that is. Then the other one
I presumed it to be Shion, but it is not confirmed that that's Shion.
Yeah, I initially thought it was Shion too, but yeah, I don't think that was the case. There are a lot of theories going around that it's a Kingdom Hearts Cross Union character, but I digress for
Oh,
a
cool.
second. The other one that
I wouldn't
was
be
in light-
surprised if it was, honestly.
Neither would I. The other one was Nominee, which was kind of nice.
Yep.
Nominee was up there, and she also promised to talk to Lingering Will to see if they can, well, not directly, but the point was, no, she did kind of say that
she made
was-
contact with Terra via
with
the
Terra.
Linger.
Mhm.
Yes, there was that.
And
the
then through
rest
some
were yada
gameplay
yada.
stuff, you put yourself back together.
Yep. You have another collection mission where you have to collect 100 pieces of yourself.
Yes.
Which
and-
I found very, dull.
And it's like this world looked super cool, and it could have been so much more, but they made it
Yeah.
a collection zone.
Again,
you
another case of collection after Pirates, which was just sort of like, I didn't like it enough in Pirates. You think I'm gonna like it here?
So you finally collect yourself, and then you go talk to Chirithy one more time. Sora's like, "How am I gonna save my friends? They're all gone." And Chirithy's like, "Something, something, something, power of waking." Pretty much.
Yep.
Look for the light in the darkness. Oh, okay, cool. Thanks for helping. And then you get warped back to the fucking light realm of light.
Yep. And the thing is, everything rewinds. So, see, this part gets confusing because it's just sort of, like when I first saw it, I'm like, wait a minute. Does no one else remember what happened before?
No, but doesn't
Oh,
Sora
wait.
say like you're here, and Donald's like, yeah,
Turn
it
us back
worked.
around against those guys. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I think they do, and I think it's like implied or kind of shown that it was Kyrie who was kind of tethering Sora to the world still. I think like it was her will that kind of kept him from completely dying
Right,
in the
but what
final
I'm trying
world.
to get is did time actually rewind, or is it just or is it
Oh,
like a
oh.
completely new, or is it time rewinding, or is it a parallel universe? I guess is the question
I
I was
read
going
it as
for.
time rewinding, but you could be right. I don't know
I don't
about
think any
that.
of us know. It's
But
one of
yeah,
those
but
open-ended questions.
regardless, yeah, I think it's time rewinding because when you go, then you go again across the rock face or whatever, and then you meet Terra
Terra
again,
again.
but the scene plays out identically to the way
Yeah.
it previously did, which is what makes me think it was maybe
But then Lingering Will shows up, and I think Lingering Will shows up because Naminé talked to him, right? And Naminé
yes,
wouldn't have
Yeah.
yeah,
talked to him.
So,
Yeah.
so all right. So I think we can just infer that it is almost like a Groundhog Day sort of thing where the thing plays out again, but this time Lingering Will shows up because Naminé was like, I spoke to Lingering. And he comes and he blocks the strike from Terranort that originally would have killed Ven.
yeah,
Yep.
and then he shoots Terra Xehanort with a cannon.
Yep.
Yeah,
Blasts him.
yeah, and he just sends him flying.
Yeah.
Then they go off
Um,
screen, and then the bunch of Heartless show up.
Well, yes. So then the scene continues to play out similarly, where the tide of Heartless is coming after Riku, and Sora's on his back. Riku says, you don't believe that. And then what happens now, instead of the Heartless consuming both of them, there is like the Keyblades that are like the namesake of the Keyblade graveyard. So all of the Keyblades of the people who the first Keyblade War kind of resurrect themselves and fight against the Heartless for them.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
Sora
Sora
gets
rides
Sora
on
rides
them
a
and,
big storm of
fights them.
Keyblades and shoots things by hitting triangle a whole bunch of times.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a massive reaction command where you spam triangle, and then you're saved by Kingdom Hearts Union Cross.
Like, I
And
think
also
that's
there's a
kind of cool,
brief
but
there's a
go ahead.
brief cutscene of like a character from Union Cross, I
Union.
Yep.
believe,
Yep.
being like, "Oh, did you need some help?" And I don't know if there's anything significant about that specific character. I don't know if he even has a name, but
It
I remember
does.
watching it and being like, "Who is that?"
You
Found
see,
out later.
I think a big problem with Kingdom Hearts 3 is that it really pins a lot on Kingdom Hearts Cross Union, which is a mobile game that I don't think a lot of people would play, really. So the fact that you're impinging a lot of this on us is just sort of like, it does nothing for us.
But he shows up, and I was like, oh, I know who this guy is. I seen him on the load-in screen of that game that I've played a few times. And then they give you a Keyblade. And that's about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Keyblade that you would have gotten if you played Kingdom Hearts Union Cross and brought it in. Whatever, I guess that's a prize. Wait a minute, did we skip a part where you're supposed to go save your friends from a big lick?
Oh God, I forgot about that because fuck that.
I did not like that. I did not like that part where you had to save your friends with, by chasing that lick. That wasn't fun. The lick was
Oh,
not a
yes.
hard boss.
yeah.
That
It
was
was just
that was
annoying.
not fun at all.
Yeah,
Like, it's
that
not a
was.
hard boss. It just employs all the stupid tactics,
It
like,
uses so many bitch tactics. It's like
Can I ask you a
honestly not even
question?
funny.
yeah.
That sequence where you're dropping into the worlds, was that supposed to be like a nod to Dream Drop Distance? Is that like what you do in that game? Because I've never played
Um,
it.
yeah,
Kinda.
yeah. Well, so the thing is, if like Mark K, with Dream Drop Distance, the thing with that was so how Dream Drop Distance ends basically is Sora ends up in a deep, deep sleep because he chases something down way further than he should have, and him chasing the licht was kind of similar to that in that respect. Again, I don't really freaking know. The power of waking is just really yada yada, and I don't even understand it. So, but I can
Yeah.
see the comparisons because it was Sora yet again chasing something way further than he should have, which is why young Xehanort shows up and is like, "There's no saving you." I'm just sort of like,
Yep.
"You're a dick,"
Yeah.
but
I mean, I think that I like that line in particular, though.
there's no
There's
saving
no
you.
saving you.
Yeah. Well, young Xehanort in general is just a dick.
Well, yeah,
He's more of a dick than Ansem and Zemnis,
more so
actually.
than the other ones, but we'll get to that eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
so
but
back to where we were on the point was what? Giant
y-
keyblades shooting at the
you,
giant
yeah, so you
arm of
defeat the
darkness.
giant heartless, and then you meet. I'm pretty sure you meet Xehanort one more time, and he's got Ansem, Seeker of Darkness, Zemnis, Vanitas, and I think it's Zigbar. They all show
Uh
up,
yeah.
and then he spawns the giant labyrinth.
Right.
Yeah, and then
Right?
yes, and then yeah, the giant limerent does exist. It
Yeah,
does
I
appear
think
right
that
after
was
that.
like, was that because of like the con between the the Heartless and all the Keyblades? Is that like that was like the Keyblade War kind of reenacting
The
itself?
point was he had to get his darkness, his 13 darkness, fight the
Yep.
lights. So he
So you
set up a
can make
field
this
where they can
the
do that.
Keyblade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. I
Yeah.
found that to
So
be rather contrived, but all right.
yeah, I agree. And you know what? We're gonna get so deep into that, but we're at
Yeah, we
what,
need to
like
take a
two and a
break.
half hours right now? I think
Time was
the
running at 2 hours 15 minutes. So yeah,
Oh
okay, that's
damn.
pretty good.
and that was
So
just
what do
recap. I
you?
think we haven't even scratched like actual discussion topics.
Yeah,
Like
Yeah,
we're oh my god, we took so much time through the
yeah, I
Disney.
know.
the
We said we
recap
weren't
that
gonna
was
do
way
this,
more than I thought it
and we
would
did it.
be. Because the
Yeah,
discussion is going to be the really interesting one, and that's going to be quite a lot of time in and of itself. But we should be taking a break at some point. So let's just
yeah.
call this the recap chapter. We can call this the live stream 0.5. How about that?
Yeah, I like that. It's
Or
good.
Actually,
1.5.
I think I like 0.2 better. We'll,
We'll
and then
do
we'll do 0.7
Final
next,
chapter prologue.
and then we'll
Final
have
chapter
a
prologue.
final chapter. Yep. I like
Yeah,
that.
but okay, so let's do that. We're gonna take a break, and when we come back, we will have more discussion on what happens
On
in
the good part of the
labyrinth.
game.
Yeah, and
Yes.
then have a lot more open-ended topics, I think. So yeah, stick around. We'll be right back ish.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
All right.